Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to the second race of the G4 Sim Racing 87 Vintage Series as we get ready to go racing here today at the historical Rockingham Speedway, also known as North Carolina Speedway. To many, it's just commonly known as The Rock. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Sam Dyer, and Sam, this is a tire shredder of a racetrack, and these drivers are going to have to deal with loose conditions for 200 laps. How in the world do you pace yourself?
I mean, you got to be careful coming into these corners. You're going to have the chance of sliding your tires entering the corners, as well as almost drifting around both turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's got to be careful coming off of 2 and off of 4. There is a chance of losing your car and throwing your car into the inside wall. So there's the chances of that. But the main thing is try to conserve your tires the best you can. We know that based off of how this driver's been running, after about 15 to 20 laps, it becomes almost miserable driving these machines, and they've got to run this track for about 200 laps.
These drivers can go pretty much anywhere from maybe 7 to 80 laps on fuel. More than likely, we're going to see them on pit road long before that. Coming off a wild finish last week at Daytona to start off the season, Ashton Schleiss was the one that went to victory lane. He starts on the pole here today. With how these tires are going to be wearing, is this one of the kind of speedway tracks you would consider track position being really important?
Oh, it's going to be extremely important. You want to be up front. You don't know if it's going to be hard or easy to make passes here just based off of practice. It's more of if you can hold your line, you can usually get by someone. But with how much these cars are going to be slipping and sliding, it's going to be difficult to hold your position. But if we have a lot of cautions that come out, a lot of machines are going to want to stay out and hold their positions. But most of the time, everyone's going to be coming in for tires.
And if we do have a lot of cautions, these drivers only have one fast repair at their disposal as Ashton Schleiss now gets on track alongside of Christopher Morse Jr. As we take a look here at the starting lineup, you'll notice a number of new faces here that did not race at the Daytona International Speedway, including Michael Crafton rolling off there from third, Dean Brummett there from fourth, and you'll also notice here in the field our very own broadcast colleague Tyler Riggs making his first start of the season here tonight in the 26.
Yeah, Tyler Riggs going to be starting back in 12th place, but that's just because he did not put down a qualifying lap time, decided to start in the back and take the safer route for now.
Dallas Myhand in the field. He, of course, tried to do the pass in the grass on the front straightaway at Daytona, came up just about maybe 3/4 of a car length short from capturing that Daytona victory. But we'll see how he's going to be able to do here today, as he seemed pretty fast in practice and was actually pretty fast in qualifying too. For a moment was up top of the board before a couple of guys went out there and dropped him back to starting in the 5th position.
Yeah, Jake Hounshell, who's going to be starting back all the way in 13th, last on the field. He was the fastest during practice and not put a qualifying lap down, so he's going to be slicing and dicing through this field. We'll see where he finishes up at the end of this thing.
He finished 6th last week at Daytona, along with, I think there's 6 drivers in the field that raced at Daytona. Going to have to match up with these new drivers here today as 200 laps. Here we go at Rockingham.
It's going to be the 68 pulling away very nicely, and Chris Morse Jr. going to be dropping back all the way back to 3rd place. Almost lost 4th to Dallas Myhand, but now everyone else single filed up until you go back to 7th, where everyone's all clustered up like a hornet's nest.
Almost 3 wide with Robert Hedges down against that yellow line. Here comes Blaine Akin to the inside. A car out of shape further back there. That's the red, white, and blue 96 of Todd Eldridge as he was in the middle through 3 and 4. Somehow, after all that slipping and sliding, though, we do complete the first lap under green.
It's going to be Michael Crafton up in first now after making a pass. Puts my hand up in the wall.
That's going to drop him all the way back now to the 5th position. He was up as high as 3rd before he got up and into the wall, as Dean Brummett will try and pass him for 4th. Myhand battles back there again on the top side, now crosses over to the bottom.
Myhand still staying below the 25 machine and looks like he'll be in the better line. The inside line's where you want to be putting your car, as they'll be making the clean pass for 4th place. It's going to be Akin, though, back in 6th place, trying to catch up to this lead pack of cars. And we're kind of split up into 2 different packs. You got the lead pack of machines that are all running pretty close to low 25s, 24 lap times. Everyone else behind them running almost a half a second, if not a second slower than this first pack.
Got a good group of cars back here. Jake Hounshell, the 83, John Whitendorf, the 33, Tyler Riggs in the 26. See Blaine Atkin continuing to fight his way up towards the top 5. He just moved up to 5th, comes into this race tied for 2nd in the points with Dallas Myhand as he led the most laps last week at Daytona, finishing in 3rd.
Myhand now moving up to 3rd place and going to be trying to challenge for the 2nd place position. And now Crafton pulling away just slightly with a 1.3 second gap on 2nd place.
The guy on the move right now, not only Dallas Myhand, but that 0-5 of Blaine Atkin. He just got around Christopher Morris Jr. for 4th. Now he's going to try and get to the inside of Ashton Schleiss for that 3rd position as Myhand moves by for 2nd.
Myhand, I mean, it looks like the 41 and the 05 are making all the moves simultaneously at the same time. They're just trying to work together to get up the best that they can as both them, 2nd and 3rd at the moment. But they've got a lot of work to get up to that 9 machine up in the lead.
Again, you brought up the point, about 20 to 25 laps into a run is where you really start to feel the grip go away. The tires are completely gone. You got to wonder just how much are Dallas Myhand and Blaine Atkin using up their good years, working their way up through the field.
You've got to be working it a lot, and it's one of those things you got to be concerned about. We're only coming up to lap 8 once they cross the line, and we've been getting word that once these drivers get around lap 15 to 20, a lot of the grip that they once had will disappear, and we're going to be seeing a lot of these cars slipping and sliding, going almost sideways around these corners.
Myhand just ran his fastest lap of the race that last time by, trying to close in on Michael Crafton for the race lead. What was about 0.8 of a second is now closed up to only 0.6 between the top 3.
Yeah, these 2nd and 3rd of Myhand and Atkins really looking quick, almost like they're the fastest cars of the day. And I'm surprised Myhand got into the wall on lap 3. He was almost wall riding on the backstretch, now challenging and getting closer and closer to our leader right now.
You and I observed these drivers in practice getting up into that wall, and the wall hugs you in almost to a point where your right side tires almost want to ride up on top of the wall. So amazing that Myhand was able to get off of it and still be able to continue to make forward momentum. But now he's caught Michael Crafton. He's brought Blaine Atkin along with him.
Atkin is the one that looks like he is saving up his tires the best out of the 3 machines right here for the lead as Atkin get behind and under the 41 machine, pushing him up just a little bit and putting really the 9 machine in the best spot right now.
This is where you're going to see a lot of your passes take place here in turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4, you're actually able to carry a lot more speed and usually hold your position. You see these drivers able to hold the bottom of the racetrack a lot easier than they are over in the first 2 corners, basically using the middle groove through turn 1.
Update for cars in the back. It looks like Jason Perkins is going to be the car last in the field, dropping back in almost half of the track away. As for the battle for 2nd, get a little intense here with Atkins on the 41.
Atkins getting a little bit sideways there off of turn 2. I don't know if it was Myhand chopping him off or just the fact that he turned too far to the left, had to correct it back. But now Dallas Myhand side by side with Michael Crafton for the lead. Didn't lead that lap, but he's going to have the inside into turn 1.
Got to be careful not to slide up. It's on lap 12. It's almost 3 wide.
Atkins going to put his foot in. Moves to 2nd. And look at how about Christopher Morris Jr. He's up here, back with Dean Brummett as well. All of a sudden, we got 5 cars up here battling for the lead.
That's just the cause of them almost going 3 wide there. Just brought everyone in as Atkins now trying to pursue and go for the lead as Myhand just dropped back like a rock.
Side by side for the lead as Crafton on the top side. Looks like he's going to maybe have to give way. Yeah, that car saw a lot of drivers on that outside line early on getting tight off the corner, having to lift to be able to turn left and not hit the outside wall. And Blaine Atkin will go to the front. Crafton back to 2nd. Myhand, Morse, and Brummett, your top 5. All of them only separated by a 1.5 seconds.
All so close to one another, and just one simple mistake could cost you multiple positions. You got to be careful with everyone out here, but so far everyone's single filed at the moment, but I think it's the battle for 3rd that's about to heat up the best right now.
I think you're absolutely right. Actually, maybe it might be for 4th here before they get up to Dallas Myhand as Dean Brummett looking on Christopher Morris Jr. Now Morris gets a nice run through turn 4, and to your point, there it is, the battle for 3rd, Morris and Myhand, along with Dean Brummett, as Morris appeared to have broken a little bit earlier going there into turn 1.
Yeah, trying to get that exit off speed is where the 3 machine's trying to get. It looks like Crafton might have touched the wall, but got extremely loose off it too.
Let's not forget that Michael Crafton spent the first 10 laps or so of this race out in front in that clean air. Now he's having to fight that aero push, being another driver's draft, and maybe not used to it here, trying to figure out what his 9 car is capable of doing now that he's back in traffic.
Ever since lap around 9, that 9 machine just continues to ride just a little bit higher through 3 and 4. He was running on the yellow line consistently. It's now he's lost that grip, and he might be the first one really feeling the loss of grip so far.
Comes the pole sitter Ashton Schleiss. He's now up to 6th, bringing Jake Hounshaw, who started near the back of the pack, with him. That's 6th and 7th place right now, so that's 4th through 8th you're looking at currently in your screenshot there, with Tyler Riggs just in the camera shot in the 26.
I mean, it's very impressive in the fact that all these guys running so clean at the moment. But for another 3 laps or so, what was looking it's not easy for these drivers running around here at the Rock, but it is about to get a lot more difficult here in the next 3 laps or so.
What I found interesting was, we end up getting information from the league admin, Christopher Morse Jr., and he said the projected fuel window he's expecting drivers, if we go into green flag conditions, to maybe come to pit road to especially get those tires is about 45 to 60 laps. If 60 is the mark that they go to, that's going to have them making 3 pit stops in this race.
Yeah, 3 pit stops is going to be a lot of stops for these guys. Pit road is going to be a little tricky for them as they're going about 120 at times. The lowest that they go is about 112. And the fastest they come into these corners is about 145 to 150. So you got to drop all the way down to 40 miles per hour into these pit roads. So got to be careful when slowing down here, as the 9 machine now all the way back to 6th place now.
Move a little bit further towards the front. We got Myhand, Morse, and Dean Brummett. And see right there, Myhand is now shifted up almost to the 3rd lane through 1 and 2. Almost gets the wall off the 2nd corner. Morse, however, was able to run right down there on the bottom. Now we've got where drivers are having their tires worn down. They're having to do a little bit of experimentation.
Car that got into the wall is going to be that 96 all the way back in last place. That red, white, and blue and stripes, stars and stripes, just looking a little off right now.
It's Todd Eldridge, of course, Olympic figure skater, 3-time world champion, 6-time U.S. champion, also a Hall of Fame inductee, as he's trying to catch back up here to a 12th place battle with Jason Perkins. A little bit further up, we've got a battle going on here. That's Tyler Riggs making a pass on Michael Crafton. He's been able to get by 2 cars in the last 2 laps, that being Schleiss for 7th and now Crafton for 6th.
Yeah, Crafton's getting closer and closer to that outside wall, which is making me extremely concerned, as he is going to just tap it with his back bumper that time around. So this 9 machine is struggling right now. He's got to try to stay on the yellow line and stop drifting up closer to the wall. His yellow flag's out.
It's going to be for Jonathan Leach in the 48, who hits hard.
Yeah, he got into the wall mid-corner and kind of was doing what Crafton was doing, getting a little bit too close to the wall, and that's just what the wall can do to these machines. Luckily, Leach has one fast repair, so they'll be using that up early in this race.
Look at the way that car is skewed. I think he completely pushed in the left front tire. That's why the thing's having difficulty turning. Trying to get that thing back to pit road, but I'm not really sure he's going to be able to.
No, I'm looking at the cockpit view, and he has to completely pull it to one side. It looks like he's trying to pull it to the right sometimes. It's not working, as now he's stuck in the wall. And he was stuck in the wall, and now he's into the pits, getting his repairs, and everyone else into the pits, except for Perkins, who's going to stay out to lead a lap.
Interesting there, as we're going to go back and see what happened here to Leach. Drifts up there into turn 1. And we mentioned the fact that when you go up and into that wall, the right side tires want to ride up it. That's exactly what happened there to his race car. That car almost flipped upside down, actually. Lucky that thing stayed on all 4 wheels. And tough break there early on for Jonathan Leach, but again, to your point, does have a fast repair at his disposal. Certainly didn't want to use it up here in the first 25 laps of this race. The bad news, however, for Jonathan Leach is he has fallen 2 laps down, and there are no lucky dogs here in this series. They run on 1987 rules. There are no lucky dogs. There are waiver rounds, which is a little bit of a difference of rule regulation as opposed to what they would have done in the 80s. But right now, Jonathan Leach not in line for either one of them as he still sits on pit road.
Now Perkins going to be coming into the pits and giving the lead to Dallas Myhan, who had a quick stop on his part, able to put himself in first.
Very slow stop for Blaine Atkin, who was the leader when that caution came out. Right now, he looks like he would be rolling off 7th on this restart. So it's like he really, his pit stop was good. His picker did a good job, but he spent about 4 to 5 seconds longer on either pit road entry or pit road exit than everybody else. That's where he lost all of his positions.
I'm going to look back and see, but the possible chance of him sliding into his pit stall was the reason for this. As I'm taking a look here to have to the 05, as this is probably one of the longest pit stalls for these drivers. As he kind of slid into his box, and yeah, he actually missed his pit stall, slid past it, and had to back up into it. And that's where he lost all of his time, and now all the way back in 7th for Blaine Atkin.
It was fun watching him cut his way through the field there on that first green flag run. Will be equally as interesting and entertaining to watch him do it yet again. Should mention as well, another difference between last week's race at Daytona and this week's race at Rockingham. Last week, all cautions were called by league admin. Here tonight, however, iRacing is making the call on whether something is caution worthy or not. So the incident up there in turn 1, Jonathan Leach spinning it into the wall and then down to the inside, was called by the iRacing server, and it will be for the entirety of tonight's race.
Yeah, and these guys are going to have fun tonight. There's a couple of drivers out here that are looking to earn some cash. Our top 5 are going to be earning some good amount of change here with today's race. And also there's a bonus cash being given out for a hard charger. Those are for the drivers that put down a qualifying lap down and qualified for this race. And whoever really made the most moves forward is going to get an extra $5 today.
So big payday here for drivers. Give them a little bit more of an added incentive. And then, of course, there's a championship on the line as well at the end of the season. And you want to accumulate as many points as you possibly can. I mean, right now, as you look at your current top 2, those are drivers that come into this race currently 2nd and 5th in the points as they run. And now it's based off of the old NASCAR point system. So Dallas Myhan's only 5 points out of the points lead. Christopher Morris only 20 points back from points leader Ashton Schleiss. And Schleiss, after starting on the pole, kind of faded back, slotted around the 7th position, going to restart in 5th. So I'm almost kind of getting the feeling we haven't quite seen what that 68 is capable of, because he laid down some good lap times in practice as well.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see how the 83 car is going to do, because a lot of those guys putting down good qualifying, what would have been qualifying lap times during practice, but just doesn't have the race pace. It just seems like it did not translate over. But speaking of that hard charger points and bonus cash, right now, Dallas Myhan is the one that has gained the most positions and would be the recipient of that extra cash.
Jonathan Leach has gotten back on track. He's trying to catch up here to the tail end of the field as we're back green with 173 laps still to go. Not yet even a quarter of the way through this race. As he's going to pull away is Dallas Myhan for the top position. Best battle is going to be going on 4th place on back.
Yeah, you got everyone single filed up, and then if you go back to 9th, I mean back to 10th place, you got a couple of cars side by side action. Everyone else though trying to stay single filed up and just waiting to make a move here, as it looks like Tyler Riggs digging it deep into for 6th place.
He's going to make that pass on Ashton Schleiss, move him a step closer towards the top 5. Robert Hedges, we saw back there, giving up a spot to Jake Hounshell. He spent a little extra time on pit road under that last pit stop. I think he might have been getting a little bit of damage repaired on his number 8 Chevrolet. Is up front here, it's going to be Blaine Atkin, now moving his way to 4th. He just got around Michael Crafton. He's got his sights set on the top 3.
Yeah, Atkins is going to be using up a lot of rubber here, though, with the fact that he's got to pass a lot of machines to get up to at least 2nd before he can even try to challenge Dallas Myhan for the lead. And Myhan right now already gapped himself to almost a second lead at the moment between himself and Morris.
That's huge too, because that's going to be a lot of ground and a lot of time that
Ooh.
Blaine Akin would have to make up should he get by the top two, or the second and third, I should say.
Crafton gets into the wall hard on the front stretch, able to continue going, but that right side with a little bit of damage there on the front end.
We do series with all different types of car models. Some of them are durable, some of them are not. Where do the 87 cars stack up in terms of durability with brushing the wall?
These cars are actually pretty durable comparatively to everything else. I mean, that leech incident was one of the flukier ones where we usually don't see, the back end get screwed up that bad. So that 9 machine should be all right, but it's still going to affect them way more than you expect because Crafton was already having issues with saving up his tires earlier in this run, and now he's trying to make a crossover move here on Tyler Riggs after losing 5th position.
Wasn't able to get enough speed off of 4, though. Riggs will take command of 5th place. Meanwhile, further up, good battle here. 3-way battle for 2nd place. Christopher Morse Jr., Dean Brummett, Blaine Akin, all right there. About 0.3 of a second separating these 3 drivers.
It's kind of like deja vu of what Akin had to do earlier when he was following Dallas Myhan up to the front. Now he's following the 25 machine as they're trying to make the pass here on the 3 good wrench of Morris.
Interesting too with the timing of that caution coming out, because I mentioned earlier that the maximum lap projected that drivers might try and stretch it before making a green flag pit stop was 60. They had come to pit road here in 60 lap intervals. That would have had them still about 20 laps short on fuel. Well, that caution came out right around the lap 20 mark. So these drivers, if we go green to the end now, 3 pit stops should see them to the checkered flag.
Yeah, as you're seeing Morris get passed by 2 cars there. And yeah, it's one of those things of your strategy kind of gets tossed up a little bit, and you got to be able to adjust to the race and the way that it differs with all these different moving parts of figuring out, hey, when do I need to pit? How far do I want to go? And how different are these pit stops pits compared to lap times earlier to now? As right now, looking at the best times that these guys have ran to now, they've been out there for about 12 laps. It's over a second difference compared to their best lap time.
That is huge. Most tracks we go to, you see maybe about half a second to 0.7 difference. A full second, to your point, just 12 laps in. And these guys out here, a lot of them are not holding anything back. They are trying to hit their marks, trying to carry the most speed they possibly can here. And eventually, we're going to see as we get 10, 20, 30 laps further into this run, those lap times drop down even more. And so I'm going to bring up this possible strategy to you. I know that this is one of the shorter speedways that we go to. Obviously, if you come to pit road under green flag conditions, all likelihood you're going to lose a lap. But would anybody consider maybe from here on out coming in for 3 more pit stops as opposed to just 2, trying to see if they can gain time on fresher tires?
It's going to be hard to differ from there, but it's one of those things that we'll know a lot more information once they're about 20 to 30 laps into a run. As the guy changes that up, as it's all in the back where you see the caution going down. This 96 as well as the 48 involved. Take that back. The 49 was the one that was involved.
Todd Eldridge and Jason Perkins, who were running at the very tail end of the field. Perkins' car looks like it took the biggest hit out of all that, as smoke erupting from underneath his number 49. That looks like that may be a car destined for its one fast repair.
Yeah, both the 69 and the 49 probably going to be coming in for those repairs. But man, was the 48 lucky to get through there, because the 49 was following the 48 and it just was unlucky when the 96 came down.
There it is with Todd Eldridge up and into the wall, almost mirroring what happened to Jonathan Leach earlier, and just nowhere Perkins to go in that 49 machine. And hard impact. I'm really surprised too, because this is a type of track where they're not carrying nearly as much speed in the corner as they would at a normal speedway. Obviously, with the tire wear here going 12, 13 laps into this run, they're not carrying nearly as much speed as they did when we went green for the restart, but yet the hits are awfully violent.
And now we're starting to see drivers under pit road conditions And really, it's one of those things of who's going to be saving time, who's going to be having the better stop. As we saw Atkins really lose a lot of time on pit road, and now going to be going up to second, gaining some time. As the 25 is the one that lost a ton of time here on pit road.
And Dean Brummett was, I believe, second place. That caution came out. He'll be restarting now back in fourth. Atkin going to move up a spot to second, but Dallas Myhand first on, first off of pit road, and he'll be the race leader when we eventually go back green. We're closing in on a quarter of the way through this race, and pretty much I think at this point you'd have to only have maybe 3, 4, maybe max 5 laps of green flag conditions for these drivers to decide to stay out. I think if you go anywhere over 10, maybe 10 to 15 laps on a run, everybody's still going to be coming to pit road trying to get those tires. Nobody wants to be at that disadvantage of losing about a second per lap.
Yeah, I mean, even 1 lap difference is still huge with these cars in this track. So anytime that you have a chance to come to pit roads, that's usually we're going to see everyone come in. You know, the one strategy that I'm interested to see if someone's going to try to do it is if we do have a caution within 5 to 10 laps, who's going to try maybe doing 2 tire stop? Who's going to try to be that slightly different compared to everyone else and gain all the track position that way? But I'm expecting a lot of the guys that are up here in the top 6, not a lot of them are going to be trying that type of a strategy. It's all the guys behind them that might be trying the 2 tire stop.
Could be some drivers too that making their first start of the season. They've got nothing to lose. They don't have any points from last week at Daytona to fall back on. Everything that they're gaining points-wise, they're gaining, at least starting here today. Guys like Myhand and Atkin and Morris Jr., however, that ran at Daytona, they may play it a little bit more conservatively. As Michael Crafton back down pit road, looked like it was a stop and go for fuel for him. Jason Perkins has fallen a lap down in the 49. You see Todd Eldridge is up here in front of the race leaders. Looks like he is going to be attempting to take a wave around, as is Jonathan Leach. I don't think 96 came to pit road at all, and he got clobbered by Perkins over there in turn 1. So I'm really surprised that he's deciding to stay out, try and see if he can get a wave around here with how hard of an impact he took.
Yeah, I mean, he might be feeling like it's better off staying out here, keep on running. Maybe there'll be another quick caution. Might be what the 96 is thinking. Very surprised it didn't come in and at least get tires. You don't have to use your fast repair immediately. It's not something that you have to use. You can tick it off to where it won't be utilized. And you could just take usual, adjustments and any optional repairs that iRacing gives you. So it's kind of interesting to see that 96 was staying out with that damage and with older tires.
We're going to get the 1 to green signal this time, so we'll see the wave around cars probably go around, get their lap, and then Dallas Myhand, Blaine Atkin will lap single file. Actually, maybe the lights are still on. No, they're off. I'm not really sure why
Well, they get the lap machines get to stay on the inside on these restarts, like the old NASCAR ways. So the 96 is going to have to pull down at some point to let the leaders go on by, but
okay, I actually just looked back at the information we were given. They did have wave arounds at super speedways, no wave arounds anywhere else. And so with the 96 being on the lead lap, he gets to actually start in that outside line because he technically is a lead lap car.
It's going to be something a little bit different for these drivers up here, having a lap machine lead the way. And it's kind of it's one of those things where you don't really get to see this very often in the modern racing days.
You don't, but it looks like Eldridge is going to actually do the gentlemanly thing, move to the inside and let the faster cars on by as we're back green here on lap 44 of 200.
Whoa, there goes Atkin.
Wow.
Something might be wrong with that 41 machine because he went up and has lost all this time.
He's really slow through 1 and 2.
He still hasn't gotten up to speed.
What's going on with him? Yeah, he's just now hitting 100 miles per hour.
There was a incident to where the 41 was given a black flag where he wasn't supposed to have it, and race control tried to fix it, and they did not get it fixed in time. So the 41 wasn't able to take off until that black flag was cleared. Now he can finally take off, and he's lost all this time that he once had, all the way back to 10th place.
Wow, that is a huge penalty there for the 41 car. Unfortunate for Dallas Myhand, who was out in front, and prior to that last caution was pulling away, looking like he was going to be firmly in control of the race lead. But now Blaine Atkin, who has
Oh,
also had a
heavy
fast
contact
car
in 6th place right now with the 9 machine getting up into the 33. Kind of just using him as a brake for a moment there. Wow.
on Whitendorf there in that Skull machine. Fourth place last week at Daytona, now drops back to seventh, or make that eighth, behind the 83 of Jake Houndshell. I was watching these guys in practice, and you can possibly, expand on this a little bit more, but it's amazing to watch the way that these cars are set up because they're kind of skewed. You watch them come down the straightaway, and that left front, as Crafton almost loses it off of too, but that left front, it's down into the pavement. That right front is kind of sticking up into the air.
Yeah, it's trying to help work with the car with these bankings being kind of aggressive compared to other racing surfaces we're used to. You're kind of setting up your car to where it works with the banking, and so that's why the front end is so skewed in, and that's why you're seeing these drivers on these on the straightaways looking a little off balance than usual.
Three-way battle for second place. Christopher Morse Jr., Dean Brummett, Tyler Riggs trying to battle it out there as this is going on over a second and a half behind race leader Blaine Atkin. Dallas Myhan trying to fight his way back up to the front. Last time we saw him, he was in 10th. He's back up to 8th, trying to reel in John Whitendorf now for 7th place.
And Michael Crafton going to be pulling his 9 machine into the pits. Something's off with that 9. We'll get back to what is the issue. It could be a black flag being served right now for the 9, but we're just not sure at the moment.
It'd also be that contact you mentioned between himself and Whitendorf just a couple laps ago, maybe bringing it to pit road because of that. These just saw they were fixing the right side around the right front, so probably the contact you were just alluding to that he had between himself and the 33.
And now, I mean, that was the heavy damage that he's had for most of the race, finally utilizing that fast repair. So the 9 machine now does not have it as well. So that's about 4 cars that have utilized, if not 5 cars, that have used their fast repairs already, as we are only in our lap 51 of 200.
Yeah, last week, Michael and I had a difficult time being able to tell who had actually used their fast repair and who had not. Caution
Yellow's
is out again. This is Robert Hedges in the 8th, and he got hit hard by Jason Perkins.
Perkins just used his fast repair, and his race could be done after that heavy contact with his front end.
Knew 4 drivers for certain that had used their fast repairs. Perkins was one of them, and that's the second time that he's gotten swept up into an incident that happened up ahead of him.
That's the aspect of racing where it's kind of luck-based, where you're kind of hoping that you just get through a caution without being involved, and sometimes it just does not work out. Also, looking like the 9 car going to be putting his car behind the wall, as well as Perkins just put it under. So that's 2 machines and 1 caution putting their cars behind the wall.
Quarter of the way through this race, and now 2 drivers in the garage area as everybody is back on pit road yet again. Blaine Atkin going to lead them down. The one driver that probably was very happy to see that caution was Dallas Myhan, because with all the momentum and positions he had lost with that incident on the last restart, now he's back up here with this lead group.
And looking at it, looking like the 96 staying out once again. So I'm surprised that car is beat up and still is not utilized as fast repair, still staying out there for now.
I mean, you cannot get the lucky dog. You cannot get the wave around. We saw what happened before when he stayed out, how he just adhered to the race leaders on the restart. The only thing I could think he's possibly hoping for is maybe be ahead of the leaders, have a quick caution come out on a restart, and be back on the lead lap. Because, as we stated, there is no lucky dog. There is no wave around here in this race.
And there also is the possible chance that he just doesn't know that the wave around isn't something that you can utilize here in this series. That is another thing. Or could be waiting for when the lap cars can come into the pits. That is the thing that we are waiting for at the moment.
All right, Sam, you asked the question. Drivers have answered. Who would go with the 2-tire strategy? Both Dallas Myhan and Ashton Slice. First and second place, they went with right sides only.
And now is the time to utilize this and get that information for later on in the race. You've been out there for only a couple of laps. Might as well try some different strategy to see if maybe 2 tires works, and later on in this race you'd be able to utilize it and see if you're able to hold off drivers for maybe 10 laps or so.
Go back now and see what brought out this, our third caution of the day. Another incident up in turn one. This time it was the 8 of Robert Hedges. We'll see if it's exactly the same situation. Yeah, car just doesn't want to turn. Going into turn one, goes straight up into the wall, spins around, and at that point, Jason Perkins rather was on the brakes trying to slow down. Unfortunately, at that point, the 8 car just slid down into his lane.
Yeah, it's tough to see that type of contact, and it's rough for these machines. And now that Perkins is out of this thing, you got to just really recenter yourself and get ready for next week.
Both Perkins and Michael Crafton, who are out of this race, this was their first start of the season, and it comes to an early end here today. As you see the shot there, nowhere for Jason Perkins to be able to go. I mean, we saw right there where when the 8 car went into the corner, it went straight. These type of racetracks, with how heavy the tire wear and everything is, how you enter into the corner is pretty much how you're going to take that entire corner. You can't just turn that car from one lane down to another on a dime.
No, you're really, when you enter the corner, it's the way you're probably going to be exiting the corner. So if you enter high, you're most likely going to exit high, and you got to come in and arc at the bottom or up high. It really matters on that entry, and Perkins kind of set himself up. And even if you're on the brakes, it's so difficult to slow down enough to make any type of move. And that 49 machine stuck where he was at. It's just an unlucky spot. And that's the big thing about racing is you need skill, then you need the equipment, and last to most of all, you need luck to get some of these wins sometimes.
So we know that Jonathan Leach, who is 2 laps down, is going to be on the inside line here of the race leaders. Looks like Robert Hedges, who lost a lap due to damage repair on pit road, he will also be on the inside line. Now, Todd Eldridge, on the last restart, restarted up on the outside because he was scored on the lead lap. That's where he's scored right now as well, tail end of the lead lap. We'll see if they're going to have him restart down on the inside line or not. I mean, right now he's keeping it down the bottom, so I almost wonder if maybe he's going to have to line up down there with the lap down machines. We haven't gotten the 1 to green signal yet, so we don't know yet which lane he's going to be restarting in.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Eldridge should be counting as a lap machine because our leader should be getting by him. So he should be staying on the bottom for now, but just due to the fact that, Myhan does not want another penalty like before. He's kind of stuck at following and staying next to the 96 and not passing him until the pace car pulls off and the green comes out.
Green flag going to come out on lap 57 as Dallas Myhan and Ashton Schleiss on 2 tires on that pit stop will try and hold off 3rd place Blaine Atkin, 4th place Tyler Riggs, 5th place Jake Hounshell. Furthest that 83 has been up here today as we're back underway at Rockingham.
And just like that, 11 cars left in this race. And we've got about 8 machines left on the lead lap car, but Atkins trying to get back to where he was on that last restart, which was up front.
He's got those 4 fresh tires to do it. Tyler Riggs right behind him as well. Looks like those 2 rights not enough. Ashton Schleiss to hang on to 2nd place, or is it? He's going to try and cross back to the inside down this D-shaped front straightaway.
A beautiful crossover move, and it's causing Atkins now. He was trying to pinch, but he just came down just a little bit too soon, which caused him to have to move back up and lose some time there.
Now Schleiss going to slide in behind Blaine Atkins and almost slide into turn 3 as a result. Here comes Jake Hounshell in the 83. He's on the inside of Tyler Riggs now as well. These drivers all sliding out of turn 4.
Hounshell looked like someone that really needed to have a good run here on this restart because he was just not showing the speed earlier in this race. Now showing that he's got it as he's now moving himself up into 4th place.
Riggs now trying to get back to the inside. Now it's going to be Hounshell going to the inside of Ashton Schleiss. Move Schleiss back to 4th, back to 5th, maybe back to 6th as Dean Brummett's going to make a pass and move up into the top 5.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you get caught up on the outside lane, you're going to kind of get freight trained by everyone else behind you. If you're not able to get down immediately, you're kind of stuck and you're going to get passed by multiple vehicles.
When we were back at Daytona, we saw these drivers fishtailing it into the corners, and Michael and I kind of attributed to the fact that those rear spoilers are so low down to the deck lid, it doesn't really catch a whole lot of air, allows that back end to swing out. Is that why we're seeing these drivers slide into the corners here as well, or is it just the fact as well that these drivers are not finding the grip that they need to here at Rockingham?
It's kind of the lack of grip. You come into these corners with so much speed. The fact that you're trying to slow down, sometimes the brakes just aren't enough, and sliding is the best way to get around. With Atkins up into the lead, my hand trying to battle back, just not able to do so. As Houndshell now up to third, trying to pursue and get up here and battle for the lead.
I was going to say the two fastest cars in this race so far are first and second, but I would watch that 83 of Houndshell because he is laying down lap times about 4/10 faster than my hand, 2/10 faster than Blaine Atkins. That 83 is flying.
Kind of makes me think that maybe he's just been saving something. Maybe he's been trying to get used to dirty air so he could get through the field a lot cleaner than everyone else. It's so many different reasons of why the 83 wasn't able to get up quicker, but now he's up here and now he's kind of a threat for Myhan and Atkins, who have looked like the two dominant cars so far.
Maybe back there as well, not only saving, but maybe experimenting. When he gets up here to the 41, obviously these drivers trying to hug that yellow line through 3 and 4. They're running the slightly middle groove through 1 and 2. I wonder if maybe he has found something somewhere else where these drivers are not running that he'll be able to utilize to make a pass.
Well, I gotta say, Myhan, yes, he tried the two-tire stop. It might not have worked out the way that he wanted it to, but he's gotten that information of for the first about 3 laps or so, it will work. So if there, I know there isn't, I don't think there's going to be a green-white checkered here for today's race, but if we come later onto the run and need to make a late pit stop, 2 tires isn't a bad move.
And think about it too, Dallas Myhan has only dropped from the race lead back to second place, as opposed to Ashton Schleiss, who also was on the 2-tire strategy. He fell from second, now back to 6th.
Oh boy, the leader almost taken out by the 96 of Eldridge, who's trying to get out of the way, just wasn't able to.
And there you see the cars down almost on the apron going into turn 3. As Myhan back on the bumper of Atkin, Houndshell right there, Tyler Riggs, Dean Brummett's right in this as well. Less than a second separate our top 5 going to 1.
It's just, I went back to relook. It was just an awkward timing of Eldridge just getting back on track at an awful time compared to where our leaders were coming on. So, awkward time for both those drivers. Luckily, both of them are still running. But yeah, no, this group for the lead are all jam-packed now.
Now it's going to be the battle for second. Myhan trying to hold off Jake Houndshell. Blocked him out of turn 4. Looks to do the same here in 1 and 2. But remember, Houndshell has 4 fresh tires. Myhan only took 2. So at some point, those right sides wearing and those left sides being as worn as they are, I think they've got about 12 extra laps on them as opposed to the right sides. They're going to start to really start going away. And we may see Myhan fall into a bit of a free fall behind the fresh rubber behind him.
Yeah, if Myhan gets pushed up onto the high side, he's going to probably get pushed all the way back to about 5th place. So the 41 machine trying to stay on the bottom lane to defend his spot, but also try to stay with Atkins. And he's been doing a pretty good job here. After Atkins had his little bit of a fluky incident with the lap car, he's been able to stay and slightly pull away, but at the moment, it's really difficult for these drivers to make any types of passes at the moment.
Their slow machine, that's Jonathan Leach up ahead, and they're going to catch him in turns 1 and 2. That is not going to be a good place, as Leach is going to move up to the outside line, almost to the wall, to try and get out of the way of these race leaders.
Yeah, Leach over the comms was trying to really negotiate where he was going to go, and the leaders told him to go on the high side, so that's where he tried to stay. But, you know, Myhan, he's been doing a great job right now holding off second, but I think those tires have finally ran out at the moment.
He was absolutely sideways going into turn 3 there. Almost opened the door for Houndshell.
The 96 spun it around on the backstretch, able to get it straight again. Very shocked we didn't see a caution, but issues again for the 96 machine.
And as he gets it refired, does Eldridge. Second place changes hands. Jake Houndshell gets around Dallas Myhan, and now here comes Tyler Riggs looking for 3rd position.
Tyler Riggs, I mean, I think if everyone was kind of a little bit closer when that pass for second was going on, probably would have seen Myhan drop back further quicker, but luckily he was able to find space to drop back down and be in front of Tyler Riggs. But that 41 machine, it's going to be a rough next couple of laps, as, you know, everyone else, their grip's starting to fade away, but it's going to be even worse for that 41.
I mean, right now, especially when you think of the fact that he's got about 25 lap old tires on the left side, Now about 20 lap old tires on the right side. I mean, that is such a huge imbalance at a track where you really have to have balance at an all-time high with just how much of a cheese grater this track is on those tires.
Another car spinning out. That's going to be the 8 car of Robert Hedges, but did not bring out a caution. I'm surprised that we haven't seen one, as these cars have been completely sideways here on the racing surface.
Couple of machines that are running off the lead lap, Eldridge and Hedges. Right now, both 5 laps down, and both of them currently on pit road. Oh no, my hand! Spun out off the nose of, I think it might have been Tyler Riggs.
Yeah, he came up, wasn't clear on the high side, and just used Tyler Riggs' front bumper, and spun him around on the front stretch.
Dallas Myhan needed a caution for sure, but he did not need to be the caution, as went around on the back straightaway, and our 4th caution of the evening is going to wave here, nearing 75 laps into tonight's event.
It was unlucky racing right there, and it's one of those things where, yeah, these cars are durable, but do you want to use your fastest pair now or later on in this race? Myhan, he's just happy probably to come and get fresh tires, and a car that's been out there for 48 laps. Going to be Jonathan Leach in that 48 machine. Yes, he was extremely low, got lapped by our leaders, but that's because he's on so much older tires than everyone else.
Currently running 3 laps down to the leaders. I'm really surprised that he would decide to stay out. He's not going to get a lucky dog. He's not going to get a wave around, so might as well come to pit road and get those tires. Because I don't see, especially with the rules that are in place here tonight in terms of lap machines, how you're going to be able to get a car that's more than 2 laps down back on the lead lap. Even I think it'd be even more just as difficult for a car that's 1 lap down to get back on the lead lap here this evening.
So right now we're trying to wait and see what's going to happen here, but it's one of those things of we're still 75 laps into this race. A lot of racing to be held here. Man, it has been an interesting one so far, with we've had a lot of self-spins. I think we've had a total of about 6 self-spins, only 3 cautions so far. It's been some fun racing here at Rockingham so far.
Jake Hounshall is going to win the battle off pit road by about half a car length over Blaine Atkin. We saw him be able to fight his way up to 2nd place. Next car he was going to have to deal with was going to be then race leader Blaine Atkin. Now we're not going to have to deal with him on this restart. We're going to get an idea in clean air just how fast this 83 car is. We go back and see what brought the 4th caution here in the back straightaway.
As Dallas Myhan going to be just doing simple repairs, not using that fast repair this pit stop, so he still has it in hand.
It didn't look like a whole lot of contact for either driver, either with each other or with the wall. Maybe a little brush with the nose for the 41 of the outside wall, but compared to the hard licks we've seen taken here today at Rockingham, that one looked relatively tame.
Yeah, it really did look pretty tame, and cars that might have been using it up. It looks like Tyler Riggs used his fast repair on his machine here on this pit stop.
I mean, back at Daytona, we were kind of questioning who was going to use their fast repair early, who was going to be forced to use it early, and who'd be able to kind of save it for the end. I mean, we haven't even gotten halfway through this race, and we know that when we get into the second half of the race, when we close in on 50 to go, 25 to go, 10 to go, the aggressiveness kicks up, the wrecks start happening, the cautions start coming out more. I mean, you want to have that fast repair in your back pocket, because we saw what happened with Jason Perkins. Had to use that fast repair after he ran into a car that was in his racing line, and then just about 10 laps later, it's another car out of the race.
Yeah, I like this move by Myhan to not use his fast repair just yet. Doesn't really have too much damage on that 41, and give yourself a shot. Yeah, run some couple of laps, see where your car's going to be running with the slight damage that you have. Still one of the fastest cars out here, probably a top 3 of the cars running. So you'll be able to get up there into the top 5. Just run and see what type of race you're going to have here with this damage, knowing that you can fix it up later on the run.
I'm trying to remember who it is. I want to say it was John Whitendorf last week at Daytona. Ended up getting involved in a wreck. And we were wondering why he didn't use his fast repair. He didn't even come to pit road under that caution. Well, later on, he used his fast repair with about 15 laps to go and was able to fight his way up through the field, eventually finishing that race in the 4th position. So, for some of these guys back here, like Dallas Myhan, keeping that fast repair in his back pocket, if we end up having a late race yellow, he could come to pit road. We've only got right now 8 cars on the lead lap. Even if he restarts back in 8th, he may be able to have enough laps, enough time to fight his way from 8th place up to the race lead using the fast repair in the latter portions of this race.
Yeah, I believe only 7 cars still have their fast repair, which is going to be Houndshell, Atkins, Bromett, the 68 machine, as well as the 33 and the 3 and the 41 are those 7 drivers that still have their fast repairs. Everyone else has already used them up. So it's going to be interesting to see when you want to utilize it as we're getting closer and closer to the halfway marker. And, still, this is a 200-lap race. It's a long one, and still a lot of pit stops to go down if we stay green for the rest of the way.
Absolutely. These drivers right now going to have to at least make 2 more trips to pit road when all is said and done, as Jake Houndshell, first time today, he's out in front.
The 68 almost got ran into the 33, had to back out of it. The outside wall almost became his friend, and now losing all this time back to 7th place.
Saw Dallas Myhan 3 wide going up the inside. He probably would have tried to make a move on Tyler Riggs there going into turn 1, but he got held up behind the 8 of Robert Hedges.
Then up front for the lead, you got a 3-car battle with Houndshell trying to hold off Atkin, but just not able to at the moment. It's the 05 on the inside.
And Dean Brumett licking his chops right now, waiting to see which lane's going to move. He's got a front row seat right now. And there's John Whitendorf in the 33, also back there in the vicinity.
Whitendorf, who's kind of been running around 6th place and just, sitting in that no man's land of not in the back, but not up front. Now keeping his car safe, now deciding it's time to move up and make some moves to show that I've got some pace here today.
Now the top 4 that were racing side by side for the lead have gotten themselves single file. Closest battle is going to be for 3rd. That's where Whitendorf is almost about 2 car lengths off the bumper of Dean Brumett. And it looks like that damage isn't really affecting Dallas Myhan. He's been able to work his way from 8th now up to 5th and on the back bumper of Whitendorf for 4th.
Yeah, it looked like some of the damage might have been on the right side, just slightly on the back end. So it doesn't look like it will be affecting, the drive or the cornering into these corners. So that is a great thing to see for that 41 machine. But he had about 22 seconds of optional repair time. So, it's still something for that 41 machine to look out for. So I don't think he has any RPM issues. It's caution to the back.
This one's going to be for Jonathan Leach again in the 48 as he spins it. Looks like this is just on the back straightaway headed for turn 3.
This is going to be a self-spin hitting on the outside wall. And yeah, that is a dangerous place to hit the wall. That's kind of the same place that we saw Dallas Myhan get into on around lap 4, 3 or 4 early on in this race. Myhan got the easy way out of it and survived, but that time Leach did not.
And just in front of, I think that was the 8 of Robert Hedges. So we nearly had a multi-car wreck there as the 48 shot back down the track almost into Hedges' path. That it is just a single car incident, and it puts us under the caution for the 5th time here today. Interesting with the timing of this caution here too, Sam, because the projected number we were given, we're going to keep adhering to this. This doesn't necessarily mean drivers will go this far, but the projected maximum number of laps that we were given drivers would go maybe on a green flag run was 60. The caution coming out right now would go 60 laps from now. That's lap 143, which then leaves them 57 laps to go. So theoretically, if we use the window we were given, these drivers, if they came to pit road now, 1 more pit stop would see them to the end.
And we're going to have a lot of drivers coming in this time, and only 2 of our lead lap machines staying out. It's got to be Atkins and Morris staying out in those good wrench machine cars.
Ashton Schleitz is going to be the first one off pit road, the pole sitter with pit stall number 1. A couple of drivers down there getting a little bit of extra time. Houndshell was 1, so was John Whitendorf. Riggs, I think, also spent a little bit extra time on pit road, and right now they are repairing the 48 of Jonathan Leach. Last week, Jonathan Leach finished top 10, 10th place. at Daytona right now, trying to have back-to-back top 10 finishes. As the car he's battling right now is the 8 of Robert Hedges, 1 lap difference between himself and Hedges. You've also got Todd Eldridge, who has been on pit road for the last 10 minutes. He is currently 17 laps down, currently in 11th place.
So I want to take that back. Atkins is running the SP carburetors machine, and Morris is running the Goodwrench car. I saw the 8 that was behind Morris, so I thought that both those guys were running the Goodwrench sponsors together. But yeah, the Atkins running that SP carburetors car, and he's been running up front, doing that sponsor right with how fast he's been all day long.
He and Christopher Morse Jr. now going to be running with 10 lap older tires than the drivers behind them. We saw what happened with right side tires only against 4 tires. For my hand, it kind of worked out before he ended up getting spun on the back straightaway. Didn't really work out for Schleiss as he lost 4 spots on the restart. Now we're going to get to see what happens when you have old left and right side tires against 4 fresh Goodyears behind you.
I don't see this going well for either of these machines. As I'm expecting to see my hand be the one that really capitalizes on this. I know that the 68 of Slice is up there, but he just hasn't been showing that speed. He's had that 1 lap qualifying lap speed, but he just hasn't had race pace to keep up and maintain the position that he has. He always seems to drop back, even on equal ground. I'll have to wait and see if he can switch that up here as we're getting closer and closer to the halfway marker. But my hand, I think everyone who has fresher tires really are licking their chops to get by both the 05 and the 3.
Brummett going to restart 8th as he just brought his number 25 back down pit road. And Jonathan Leach, his team has put him back into the garage area, joining Jason Perkins and Michael Crafton. So right now we've got 10 cars that are still scored in this race. Eldridge still getting a lot of repairs done on his 96, so theoretically, there's only 9 cars left in this race, 8 of them currently on the lead lap. And Dean Brummett, a little bit of a lengthy pit stop there for the 25. Wonder if maybe he was just getting a little bit more optional damage repair done on his machine.
Yeah, it looked like it was some optional repairs done for himself as well as Hedges this time around. So both those cars getting a little bit of pit stops done as Eldridge in that 96 machine still in pits. He's been in there for about 12 minutes or so, and he had a lot of hard contact. Just based off the contact and the way his engine was looking, it could have been having about anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes of optional time and possibly even some required time that he has to stay in there for. So I don't know if we'll be seeing that 96 getting back out here on track, but hopefully we get to see him out here soon, as he still has the chance to get by that 48 and gain another position possibly.
Let's not forget, too, prior to that spin-off turn 2, which has now put him onto pit road for this damage repair, he had that hit from Jason Perkins over in turn 1 after a spin, and that was his 1 fast repair used up. So now he's on the clock here, waiting for that car to at least, maybe in some way, be repaired to at least race running capacity. As green flag back in the air, 88 laps completed. Let's see how long it takes for Schleiss, Myhand, and Houndshell to be able to pounce on the older tires of the top 2.
Top 2 still running good at the moment as going through 1 and 2 cleanly, but it's really about that next lap. How will they be able to hold up once everyone else is up to speed and really can hold on to these corners? Because right now, the 05 and 3 holding down that yellow line a lot better than I was expecting, but here comes Schleiss.
At turns 1 and 2 here is going to be the deciding factor, I think. It's going to be the tail of the tape as, boy, Morse got really tight going into that corner. Almost got a bump from behind by Ashton Schleiss. Schleiss now going to go for that second position.
Now it's a 5-car pack for the lead. My hand kind of looking like he's irritated, wanted to get by the 68, just not able to at the moment, as now they're 2x2 for battling for second and for 4th place.
My hand now will look for third on Morse. Houndshell, wow, he got awfully close to the back of that 3 going into turn 1. That brings Tyler Riggs into this as well, and now it's only 3 car lengths, 2.5 down the back straightaway from first back to second.
Houndshell able to make the pass, which is now putting Morris back all the way down to 6th place. So staying out was not the best choice for him, but it's worked out for about 4 laps or so for Atkins at the moment, as having another car behind, holding up everyone else, works out. So if you have multiple cars staying out, after 10 laps, you might be able to do it again.
Schleiss had a chance to take the lead from Akin, but he pushed up in turns 1 and 2, opened the door. Dallas Myhand will slide by. Houndshell goes to third. Riggs looking for fourth. It's now Blaine Akin with a rear deck lid full of the 41 for the race lead.
Able to get it done as Myhand now still in second, but Schleiss was not able to hold where he was, driving all the way back to 5th place. Now Myhand right on the back bumper of the 05, right on the back quarter panel, might be able to make the pass here through 3 and 4.
All right there on corner exit of turn 2, how his car accelerated straightaway speed a lot more than Akin did. That's that rear grip that he had the advantage of, as now Myhand to the lead, and now Jake Houndshell, who seems to have as fast a car as Myhand, he wants to get by Blaine Akin so he can get up there and mix it up with the 41 for the race lead.
And Tyler Riggs back in 4th place. He wants to get by Houndshell, but he's also got to be careful. He has used up his fast repair. Everyone else he's around have not. So if they make any contact, they will be fine, but that 26 car will not. He's got to be careful here coming to the halfway marker in the rest of this race.
Dallas Myhand's loving it right now. He's got a car on old tires back in second. They were side by side with fresh tires, Riggs and Houndshell for third place, as Riggs will finally take the spot. Now these two will set their sights to get it back up there to Blaine Atkins, who for the moment, I mean, he's been able to go out there for the last 7 laps and not drop any further back than second place. This kind of reminds me of what was happening with Myhand, where Myhand was on right sides only, and he was only dropping back maybe to second or third place because of that.
It just shows the speed that both Myhand and Akin have of just being fast in general. It doesn't matter if they're on 10-lap older tires than everyone else. They are still quick and able to battle and challenge everyone else. And now it just makes you wonder on equal ground. Atkins and Myhand are so close to one another that it kind of makes you shake your head at everyone else. Can they even keep up with these guys as they're still struggling to get by the 05, even though he's on 10-lap older tires?
Looking back there at Tyler Riggs, and we talked with Tyler just before this race, and you can just see the sparks flying from underneath Blaine Atkins' machine. Tyler remarking on just how bumpy this track is.
Yeah, I was running a couple of laps with these machines, and coming through the corner as well as on the straightaway, it's just bumpy all over the place. Especially on that front stretch, it is extremely bumpy as Tyler Riggs comes in. A little bit of netcode contact between himself and the 05 as they kind of were phased into one another. So kind of saved both machines, but still contact was made between the two cars.
Almost a little contact off of turn 2 as well, as Riggs trying to make the pass there on Blaine Akin. And how impressive is this that Akin, on about 10-lap older tires, is being able to hold off these guys?
It's extremely impressive, and the one car that's loving this action's got to be Myhand, who's now up to a 1.6 second gap between himself and second place. Tyler Riggs looks like he might have had it there, but here comes Houndshell through the middle, 3 wide into turn number 3.
3 wide at North Carolina is not smart, but these guys somehow made it work and didn't wreck each other going into turn 3. And how about Christopher Morse Jr.? He's on old tires as well, 10-lap old tires, because these guys are mixing it up from second back through fourth. He's now up here in the hunt.
You know, you talk about equalization between tires. When does it happen? And it happens during later runs with other tracks, but here we're getting closer and closer to 20 laps on these fresher tires, and that's when we start to lose that grip, and it's getting closer and closer when we might see the tires equal out, where it might not be an advantage anymore having fresher tires.
Not only that, but these drivers are all really not being able to run the ideal line they want to into the corner because they're either side by side or running behind somebody. Looking at their lap times right now, these 4 that we're looking at, Akin, Houndshell, Riggs, and Morris, they're running somewhere in the 26.3s to 26.4s. Meanwhile, Dallas Myhand in Clean Air, he's running in the low 26.3s, sometimes the high 26.2s.
Yeah, Houndshell is the car that looks like he'll be able to get by Atkins, but he's stuck on the high side where you don't want to be. If we see Tyler Riggs come up closer, they might be freight training by this 83 machine as they're still side by side for 2. And it looks like Houndshell might have it off the exit. Coming in with the pace, they're still side by side, almost making contact.
Houndshell had to turn it left to avoid hitting the wall. Almost came down the passenger side door of Blaine Akin. Still not clear on that 0.5 off of turn 4. And remember, we saw Dean Brummett make a second pit stop under that last caution for some damage repair. Now he's up here in the 6th position.
Atkins and Riggs almost making contact there. And here comes Morris, who's kind of been saving up his tires compared to the 3 cars in front of him that have just been battling out hard, out contact with one another with everyone else. And yeah, Bromit, he's now getting into the action here.
Again, because of all this battling from second place on back, Dallas Myhan now has a 2-second lead back to the new second place driver of Jake Hounshell. They're still side by side for third.
Yes, Houndshell and Myhan both running very similar lap times now, even though they're both running pretty clean. There's not a lot of dirty air in front of both themselves, so they're just running as fast as they can. But that action for third place, still side-by-side action with Atkins and Tyler Riggs.
Now past the halfway point here at North Carolina Speedway. We've worked 5 cautions in the first 100 laps, and the 6th caution might very well be in this portion of the field as you got 4 cars. You could throw a blanket over them, side by side, still for third. Atkins with old tires on the bottom, holding up Riggs on the top side, who finally is going to clear for the spot, maybe through 3 and 4.
Gets it done, and now Morris on the high side trying to make the high line works and makes that look easy through 3 and 4 as he gets by Atkins with a breeze.
Right now, both Christopher Morse and Blaine Atkin are out there on 30-lap older tires, and we're starting to see in terms of lap times now just how much they're losing.
Atkins, he's still losing it. Able to save it now, does he? No!
Off the nose. John Whitendorf, as that car was nearly spun out maybe 4 times down the back straightaway and finally goes around there in turn 3.
He was wheeling it off of 2, and I don't know how Atkins did not lose it sooner. That's impressive that he really was. He basically was drifting that car through the backstretch until he got spun out by the 33.
Well, we mentioned a couple of cautions ago how Dallas Myhan was probably very happy to see the yellow flag come out. Even being the race leader, I think he would be happy to see the caution come out here, because if we'd gone maybe another 4 or 5 laps, I think we would have had a battle for the lead on our hands. Hounshell was running 2 to 3 tenths faster than the 41, and now Myhan's going to be able to come down pit road, get some fresh tires. If he can win the battle off pit road against Hounshell, he'll have that clean air again, and they'll be on equal sets.
Well, we talked about if we saw the 96 get back out there, and he's been running a couple of laps, got that one position past Leach. Now he's up to 10th place, so a top 10 finish for that 96 at the moment, as he's only got one more car in front of him, but now we have 10 cars running out there on track.
And it could be a couple more spots he could pick up as well, as if we have more drivers retire out of the race before lap 170, he'd be able to pick up, I think, those positions in the amount of laps left. Of course, there are a couple of drivers that are ahead of him that have used up their fast repair, like Robert Hedges, Tyler Riggs, so there is a chance that he could very well move a little bit further up inside the top 10 if he can keep his nose clean for these final 90 or so laps, as Dallas Myhan did win the battle off pit road. We're going to go back and see now what happened to Blaine Atkin here for our 6th caution of the day. Atkin, of course, led the most laps last week at Daytona. Spent a good portion of this race out in front, and really it all starts with him being down there on the apron of 1 and 2. And that car slide up, and boy, I mean, when you're out there on 30-lap old tires, that's what he was on at the time, and that car starts snapping around, you're very lucky if you can avoid from spinning that thing out, and he nearly had the thing saved.
Yeah, he nearly had it saved there, and looking at cars, I think Blaine Atkins, I'm trying to get a better view. I don't know if he is used up. I think that is just a simple optional repair that he had on that back bumper. Yeah, it is. It's just an optional repair. Still has his fast repair for later on in the race.
I think these drivers are not wheeling these cars. Look at the cockpit view here with Blaine Atkins. Look as he's trying to save that car. Left, right, and right there. The contact from Whitendorf is what spins him around finally in turn 3.
Whitendorf, due to the fact that he was involved as well, I looked back to see if he used any of his optional repairs. Has not either. So both the 33 and the 05 keeping their fast repairs for later on in the race.
And the main brunt of the damage that Blaine Atkins sustained was really to the rear of the raced car when he got up into the outside wall. So as long as he's able to handle maybe a little bit more of a loose feeling condition, he should be good to go. And We saw Dallas Myhand have a rather minute spin on the back straightaway. He was able to fight his way back up to the front, so I think that 0-5 might be okay.
Cars that have some damage but have already utilized their fast repair. Tyler Riggs running third at the moment. He's got a lot of right end damage on that 26 machine, so I'm kind of nervous to see if that damage hurts him for the long run, but running third at the moment.
I think probably that might have come from him sliding up into Blaine Atkin when the two of them were in that tussle for third place on the last run that we just had. As it looks like we are going to probably get the 1 to green signal this time by, so we should be going back green with 90 laps to go, which you have been told you can make it 90 laps on fuel, but it's not preferred that you go 90 laps on tires. So let's speculate, Sam, that this thing goes green to the end. Do we see these drivers split these final 90 laps in half and maybe pit 45 laps in? Do we see some drivers stretch it as far as the 60 laps and set it up for a 30-lap run to the finish?
Yeah, I'm looking for these guys to split this thing in half. It's probably the best option for them and to make sure they got the best tires and the best opportunity. And really, when you're splitting the end of this race up, you still, yes, you've had all the race to really utilize and figure out how to save your tires, but you have the option. Do I use up my tires early in this first stint before we split it? Or do I keep my tires as fresh as possible for that last run, for that last stint? So a little bit of mind games to be utilized and tactics to be used by all the drivers.
Of course, here as well, a caution could throw a monkey wrench into any strategy these drivers might be putting together right now, depending on when it flies. So we got those 2-lap machines there of Eldridge and Hedges on the inside, but it's Dallas Myhand, Jake Hounshill, Tyler Riggs, Christopher Morris Jr., and Dean Brum at the top 5 as we go back green. 90 laps to run here tonight at Rockingham.
And Myhand gets a fantastic run, and it's everyone else behind him that are really trying to hunt down that 41 machine who's been saving up its tires. But Houndshell is the car I'm nervous about for these leaders. Once it gets in the lead, I don't think there's anyone that could pass this 83 machine.
Houndshell finished 6th last week at Daytona, was a driver that was up there in the hunt for the win, but got involved in being pushed up to the outside in the final few laps without a drafting partner and was not able to contend for the checkered flag, as now he's got bigger things to worry about. Tyler Riggs all over his back bumper. I thought we were going to have a battle for the lead. Looks like it's going to be a battle more for second.
Yeah, right now Houndshell struggling to put his car on that yellow line, which is giving him the better exit off the corner, but that's enter and exit is where that 83 is losing a lot of his time.
Tyler Riggs trying to drive it deep into the corner. Tries to get the left rear quarter panel, can't do it, and that caution was a huge saving grace for Christopher Morris Jr., who was also on the same strategy as Blaine Atkins, had not come to pit road under the last caution. Now he's up here in good track position, back on fresh tires in 4th place.
Yeah, Blaine Atkins right now in 6th position as he is right behind the 25 of Blumen.
Oh, gracious. Houndshell trying to get to the inside of...
Oh, no!
He spins him. Myhand saves it. We're still green.
Still green, and right now Houndshell in the lead, but here comes the 3 car trying to make the pass here. 3 wide coming into turn number 3, and it's going to be Atkins who makes it through.
Holy cow. Up the middle, 3 wide, goes from 6th to 2nd in a straightaway.
And you got to think, Myhand must be excited the fact that he saved that fast repair. Now can utilize it whenever a caution comes out. But damage for himself and for Houndshell, as both of them are going to be running well. Houndshell did not get the brunt of it. That went all to the 41 machine.
It was really difficult to tell if the 41 from our camera view came down or if the 83 pushed up again, because just prior to when Dallas Myhand spun it off of turn 2, the 83 had pushed up into the 41, and that's why I had that reaction, because I thought they were going to wreck in turn 1. The spin actually took place over in 2.
Yeah, it looked like Myhand going back. He came down just a little bit on entry, and it caused the reaction for them to split off, and then coming off of the exit of the corner, they came close again, and contact was made. Dallas Myhand, a lot of damage on that left side. Still running 4th and running decently well. Just he's got, it's hurting him on the long stretch as well as it's going to hurt him on the long run.
Fastest car that last time by, 3rd place running Christopher Morris, who is running in the tire tracks of 2nd place Blaine Atkins. Right now, those drivers half a second separating them, those top 3, as Atkin tries to close the gap up between himself and Houndshell. and he's bringing that good wrench Chevrolet along with him.
I mean, that caution, yes, it hurt Dallas Myhan from being in the lead, now back to fourth. It also hurt Tyler Riggs, who was running third at the time, putting him back in sixth place.
Back a little bit further, you've got Ashton Schleiss in that 68 car. This is really surprising me with him. I mean, he already is going to victory lane this season last week at Daytona, but he was up near the top of the leaderboard in practice. He qualified on the pole position. It's just really baffling to be seeing him running this far back. His lap times are good. I mean, he's running lap times faster than the top three right now. I'm sorry, I'm faster than the guys ahead of him, but I just don't understand how the speed we saw early on today, how that's not translating now to him in this race time.
Yeah, Schleiss was running around top three during practice, qualified, like we said, pole. But he just hasn't been showing the consistency to have that race pace to stay up here in the top five. And so that's what's been hurting the 68 so much. Houndshell was the fastest during practice, didn't put down a qualifying lap time, started last, now finds himself in the lead, and right now trying to hold off the car that's been the fastest one all day, Vakin.
I'm going to throw out just a possibility to you. I don't know if this is the case or not, but we were within when that caution came out and going back green within the fuel window to make it the rest of the way. Is that 68 back there saving his tires, trying to see if he can make it this final 90 lap stint?
It's so difficult to say, but I don't believe that he would be, just because you'd be losing way too much time trying to save that fuel to make it to the end. And also your tires are going to be so dead by that point that fresher tire cars are going to catch you so much faster, as right now our leaders are running about their 15 laps on their tires, almost 2 seconds slower than what they were running before.
Battle for second is going to change hands. Christopher Morse Jr. moves into the runner-up spot now. That's the highest he's run all day on fresh tires. He was up in the second position earlier on as well, but that was on pit strategy, as now he'll look to run down the 83 of Jake Houndshell. Both of these drivers, Morse and Houndshell, very well, if they took the race lead and the win here today, could be heading into next week as the points leaders. They both finished 5th and 6th respectively last week at Daytona.
I mean, I got to give credit to that 3 machine. He is the cleanest car of the top 3 at the moment. Not a scratch on that 3 machine, as the car in front of him has a little bit of front right damage, as well as the 05 behind him has some front right damage as well, of making some contact with other machines.
That might be translating as to why he's got this speed now in the latter portions of this race. As these 3 are battling each other, you've also got a 3-way battle for 4th place. That's Dallas Myhan, Dean Brummett, who almost is pushing Myhan through 3 and 4. Tyler Riggs right there as well.
Yeah, that damage from Myhan is really hurting that 41 machine, and it's just not helping him at the moment of being challenged by other machines that don't have as much damage. I mean, everyone else on same freshness of tires, so that's not the difference really. It's about how much damage that 41 has and how much the older tires kick in, how much more worn out he's going to get, as it looks like we're having a challenge for the lead as Morris right there on the back bumper of the 83.
Now to the left rear quarter panel going into turn 1. The door was open, but Morse could not quite drive it deep enough to get to the inside of Houndshell into the first corner. He'll try again here through 3 and 4. And I want to ask you, Sam, because you know a lot more about iRacing than I do. If you're looking at someone like Dallas Myhan back here, let's say he doesn't get a caution to be able to come down and get that fast repair, because obviously the damage he just sustained really affecting him here. Do you lose a lot of extra time on a green flag pit stop if you use the fast repair there, or no?
No, the fast repair is an instant thing that happens once you come into the pits. So when you come into the pits, you'll get the fast repair done instantly, and then you will also get all your tires and everything else done as well. It will not affect your time of your stop. So Myhan, if we have a green flag stop, should work out. But you saw there, Houndshell into the wall off 4.
That opens the door for Morse to take a look, and he will clear for the top spot through turns 1 and 2. You mentioned the cleanest car on the track right now out in front showing the way. We've got some traffic these two will have to deal with in a moment. That's Todd Eldridge, the 10th place machine. He's been pretty good at getting out of the way of the race leaders, though, but Christopher Morse Jr. now to the front showing the way.
Other updates for cars in the back. It looks like Robert Hedges has put his car into the pits to get more damage repaired, and he has been in there for about a minute or so, and it looks like it is heavy damage for that 8 machine. We'll have to wait and see if we can get back out there, but it gives time for this 96 machine getting out of the way of our leaders at the moment. If he keeps on running these laps, he could be gaining another position, putting himself ninth.
Turn about 16 more laps with the 8 car still on pit road to move up another spot into the top 10. As after Houndshell lost the lead to Chris Morse Jr., he has not really let that 3 car get away. It's still about half a car length between the top 2, and wow, Houndshell drives it deep into turn 3.
Houndshell's trying to redeem himself after making contact on the wall and adding more damage to that right side, and luckily, it was what I would call a pancake hit, where it was a parallel hit to the wall, so it wasn't as much damage as it could have gotten if it came in at an angle. So right now, Houndshell still, yes, there's damage there, but still trying to push it to gain on Morris. As I was looking behind, Atkins got a little bit squirrely off of 2.
And further back, that battle for 4th place continues on. Tyler Riggs got around Dean Brummett, moves up to 5th. Now trying to see if he can get around Dallas Myhan's wounded 41 for 4th place. They're going to have to maneuver their way around the slower machine of Todd Eldridge first. And right now, I'm looking in terms of how long we've been on this run. 25 laps for all of these drivers.
Oh!
Eldridge hard into the wall,
No!
and he's going to collect up the 33 of Whitendorf.
Weyendorf had nowhere to go and was just a victim of that, as Eldridge, who'd been just running out there trying to get out of the way of these drivers, got into the wall with being too high. No, you hate to see that, as Eldridge now, with that damage, he might not be able to gain that position for 9th place.
Seeing drivers that are on the lead lap battling for position, trying to run that higher line through 1 and 2, and they have to jerk the car to the left to avoid hitting the outside wall. Eldridge right there, all he was doing was trying to get out of the way of the lead lap cars, and unfortunately, he was just running too high, could not bring it down off the wall. Like we've seen all race long, you get up into that wall, and it almost hugs your race car, and you saw it spin the 96 down into the path of Whitendorf, and I believe Whitendorf has not used his fast repairs, so he does have that if he needs to.
Yeah, that was something I was going to bring up, is I believe the 33 still has that repair, so he should be able to get it done. I'm watching the 41 to see if he still has his repair. Now, I was speculating that he didn't use it before because he got a lot of damage repaired earlier on in the race when he got up into the wall, and we'll see this time into the pits. You'll know when he gets that repair done, because his car will just kind of plop in with all the damage gone after all the tire repairs are all the new tires are put in. And at the moment, doesn't look like he's going to have that fast repair put on for the 41 machine, as the 33 as well still sitting on pit road. Looks like 33 car might be just sitting there taking those optional time.
Oh, Chris Morris not quite going to win the battle off pit road, as Houndshell just barely got around him. Blaine Atkin made it a pretty good fight there as well, but he'll come out in 3rd. Looks like Dean Brummett will come out 4th, which surprises me that he didn't lose any positions, as he overshot his stall and had to back up into his pit stall there. He'll come out 4th. Tyler Riggs will be coming out in the 5th position, as Myhan still on pit road, making some additional repairs to his number 41. Looks like he'll be restarting back in the 8th position. We'll have to wait and see if he's still on the lead lap, as again, we go back and look and see what happened off of turn 2.
Looking at cars still out there on track, and that 96 car, yes, had heavy contact, still out there on track, as well as the 8 got out there for a couple of laps and now puts himself back into the pits. There's also the 33 just came back in the pits as well.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering, and in terms of Eldridge, he probably is getting to a point here where, yeah, he's made contact, he's got damage, but at the same time, he doesn't want to sit there spending extra time on pit road for damage repair, because like we pointed out, you've got the 8 of Robert Hedges, a potential position that he can pick up here in the finishing results.
And Myham, looking at it, I think he might have used up his fast repair earlier on, or he's saving it for just in case we have an extreme late caution or an engine blows up. Speaking of engines blowing up, I think that's what happened to Tom Eldridge.
So finally, the Engine underneath the 96 car gives up the ghost. I mean, he has been involved in several different things here tonight. That US Olympics red, white, and blue machine has been completely battered. And looks like his day is going to come to an end. We're going to ride on board here with John Whitendorf, who is still on the lead lap. Spent quite a bit of time on pit road getting some damage repaired to his 33, and just how there's just no reaction time to be able to avoid.
So right now, Whitendorf is doing his cycle of coming into the pits, getting about 30 seconds of repairs done, and then getting back out there on track so he doesn't go a lap down. 33 car's trying to do everything he can to get this car fixed up before we go green again, but really is a lot of damage, if not too much damage for him to repair, as he also does not have a fast repair left on that machine, it looks like.
We haven't gotten the 1 to green signal yet, but when we were on board there with Whitendorf, it put me in mind of something I was actually going to ask you here, Sam, and that was when we were on board earlier in this race. I can't remember who we were on board with, but they were running either third or fourth place in the draft, and we saw the red light on the dash blinking, which says to me that the car was topping out with RPMs. I mean, how worried do you have to be when something like that's happening?
Yeah, I mean, these machines are going to be coming in and that light's going to blink up. It's meaning that it's getting close to maxing out your RPMs. Still not close enough for it to damage your machine while coming down the straightaway, but it's kind of a warning for these drivers of, hey, this might be a breaking point that you want to think about coming in. Is that actually starts blinking around the times these drivers come in, let off the gas, or even use the brake into these corners. So it's kind of a warning for them, and it helps the drivers out. But yeah, it's a blinking button to let the drivers know that they are about a couple thousand RPMs away from hitting their max revs.
Well, any caution from this point on, these drivers are good to make it to the checkered flag on fuel. The question is, what will their tires look like by the time we get to that point? As the lights have actually gone out atop the pace car, we're going to go green this time as Jake Hounshell leads Christopher Morris, Blaine Akin, Dean Brummett, Tyler Riggs as the top 5, with Schleiss, Myhant, and Whitendorf, the rest of the drivers, on the lead lap.
They kind of all accordion there. A little bit of bumping action for all the drivers in line there in the top 5. As now with looking Tyler Riggs making a pass here on the 25 machine, going into turn number 1. And for the lead, here comes Christopher Morris on the bottom of Hounshell.
Morris Jr. to the lead potentially as Hounshell tries to battle back on the top side. Nothing doing. Put the 3 car to the top position. It's now Hounshell and Akin battling side by side for second place.
And Akin looks a lot better now. Got some of that damage repaired, and now that 05 looking a lot better comparatively to where he was before. And here comes Tyler Riggs, who's looking a lot quicker here with the fresher tires. Obviously, later on in the runs, these guys will drift on back just because of how hard it is to save their tires. But right now, on the early runs with the freshest tires, making some hard charges.
One that is not making any forward progress right now is that 41 of Dallas Myhand. Right now, side by side with Ashton Schleiss. That's for 6th. Right now, Myhand is stuck up on the top side. So the speed we saw that 41 early on in this race, we're not seeing it right now here, closing in on 60 laps to go.
Yeah, it was looking like he was going to be the guy getting that bonus cash with the Hard Charger Award. Not looking so at the moment, as he'll be someone that's actually losing positions since the time that he qualified and where he started the race. Other drivers out here that have the potential of getting that award that are still running. I mean, that's Dallas Myhand is running too many laps back, but really Christopher Morris is really the one car that has a chance to get that extra cash because he's the only car that's really has gone up from where he qualified.
You know, you talk about the fact that Christopher Morris Jr. hasn't used his fast repair. Well, what better way to not have to use it than to be out in front ahead of all the mayhem? And right now he enjoys a 6/10 of a second lead over this battle that continues to brew. It was 2 cars, now possibly 3 cars, with Akin, Hounshell, and Riggs battling it out for that runner-up spot.
Weyendorf putting his car into the pits at the moment, trying to get repairs done as quick as possible, as he is now 1 lap down and has the chance of losing these positions, as Hedges is still on track.
I mean, we saw the contact was made with the front end of his race car, and sometimes you try and stay out there, hope the damage isn't that bad, and soldier on, but eventually that car starts to feel like it may be getting ready to blow the engine or something. You have no choice but to come to pit road as Hounshell a little wide off of turn 4. Riggs got a good run off the final corner. That's going to be the battle for 3 going into turn 1.
Yeah, Houndshell, that last lap had some trouble off of 2 and off of 4. That has really given the 26 some spacing to gain on Houndshell. And Houndshell, he's got to be running a little bit more consistent here for the next couple of laps if he wants to pull away from Riggs. But Riggs has been doing a pretty good job right now, running a little bit lower than the 83 and doing great. As Weidendorf going to be putting his car around in the back of the wall, which now has given Hedges a chance to get a position now.
It is, so Hedges could finish as well as 8th place here, as he was only running 7 laps behind the 33 car. And going back here to Jake Houndshell, kind of pushing up off of turn 4, we saw that happen before. That's when he lost the race lead to Christopher Morse Jr. So I don't know if it's a case of that's the way the car is turning or not turning to be the case off of turn 4, or if he's trying to let the thing ride up to the wall to try and get that straightaway speed.
That time he came in a lot more aggressive onto the inside line, and I don't think Tyler Riggs was expecting that as he kind of drifted up into the middle lane, almost contact made between the two drivers there. Yeah, it just looks like Houndshell was letting his car drift up and now feels like, hey, I need to start making a move forward because this 26 car is getting way too close to my back bumper.
Right now, Blaine Atkin clear into 2nd place. Both he and Christopher Morse Jr. running pretty similar lap times. That last time by maybe about 2/100ths faster was the 0.5, but not a whole lot of difference as the gap between those two remains somewhere in the vicinity of half a second. The best battle right now continues to be for that
Tells
third
my
spot.
hand into the wall. As he's extremely slow off the backstretch, I think contact was made. No, he self-spun it. Contact off the off turn 2 wall, and it just sucked him up on the outside wall, spun him around. No caution, but a lot more damage for that 41 machine.
Yeah, nobody was around him. He was running back here in 7th, behind all of the rest of the lead lap cars. And Robert Hedges, who is on track, was a long ways back as a lap machine. So race officials not throwing the caution there for the 41 car, who continues to struggle. A guy that was dominant in the first half now all of a sudden is fading out of the picture here for this trip to victory lane, as things have really gotten spread out up at the front. You've got Blaine Atkin running about 5-6 car lengths behind Christopher Morse Jr. Then it's another maybe 5 car lengths back to the 83 of Jake Houndshell, who's now opened up a 3.5 car length gap back to Tyler Riggs.
Yeah, and everyone else is kind of spread out as well, as there's a 1.3 second gap between Riggs and Brummett in 5th place. And then you also got only about a 0.3 of a second gap between 5th and 6th. So really everyone's gapping it out, but it looks like Tyler Riggs found some speed, and it's kind of the same battle that we're seeing for 3rd place is going on for 5th place.
Yeah, as soon as I say everything's spread out, 2 battles start to heat up.
Caution to the back.
My hand again, this time on the back straightaway.
I think it was the same exact thing happened again. Made contact with the outside wall of turn 2. Yep, same place. That part of the corner that just it jumps out at you, and he hits it about, difference of 3 laps between one another, but heavy contact and almost came down onto the 8 machine.
I think are closed this time, as the field has to come around and pick up the pace car. They ran 17 laps under that stint, which undoubtedly means everybody's going to be coming to pit road. But is this the point of time now, Sam, that after the experimentation that took place, drivers would consider going with just the right sides only, or would it have to be a caution later on?
I'm imagining later on is the time to do it. I think if you have a caution where you have about anywhere from 5 to 10 lap old tires, you can come in, do 2 tires, and utilize that strategy, knowing that it might not be the winning strategy, but it's a good strategy to get at least better positioning on track. And track position has been very important, as we've seen here on track here most of the race. I think right now everyone's going to be taking 4 tires, and it's about how clean you get into your pit stall. Make sure not to slide past it, and you'll be set pretty well, as we've only got a total of 7 cars on the lead lap. And with my hand's accident, with how heavy damage the 41 has, I would say it's basically a 6-horse race to see who's going to win this thing. But even then, it might only be 4 cars that have it, as we've only been seeing really Morris, Atkins, as well as Riggs and Houndshell being the 4 cars that have really been putting in the most effort of possibly winning this race at the moment.
Brummett was up there at one point, but I don't know what's happened to the 25 as he's tapered off. Actually, he's just going to win the battle off pit road here. I believe that was a 2-tire stop for the 25 car.
I'm going to take a look and see. Yeah, it looks like it was just a two-tire stop. So someone who was looking for that track position, giving some bonus points to 25 machine for leading that lap. And we'll see how well he does with just the two tires. But they've been out there for about, 15 to 18 laps of old tires. That's a little bit more worn than I would feel more comfortable with doing a two-tire stop. But, Bromit's trying to do something different compared to where he was at, where he really didn't have a chance to win this thing without trying something different.
Well, you think about it too. Brummett, when that caution came out, was running, I think, in the 5th position. He was about to be in a battle between himself and Ashton Slice for the spot. So even if he drops back to 5th place, he hasn't really lost a whole lot.
No, he really hasn't. And, trying something out here, it's not a bad choice. There's only about 7 cars on the lead lap. Might as well try something a little bit different here.
The shot that my hand took into the outside wall off of turn 2, noses it again to the outside wall, and gracious, Robert Hedges, to your point, just narrowly getting through. We should mention.
Yeah, I'm laughing now because I was saying maybe my hand used up that fast repair. Maybe he used it up, and that's why he just hasn't repaired his car. Nope, he decided to use it right now. That 41 machine is back in action.
Oh boy. Oh, what'd you say? 4 cars still in the running? I think we can up it to 5 possibly now, with my hand having a brand new race car, and another driver is actually officially out of the race. Todd Eldridge has brought his number 96 behind the wall, so Robert Hedges is now up in the 8th position, albeit 11 laps down. 5 drivers in the garage area, 8 cars running, 7 currently on the lead lap, as we're going to be getting the green closing in on 45 laps to go.
45 laps to go. It's time to see who's got this thing. Who really can tame this racetrack, as it's been off of turn number 2, where we've seen a lot of the action going down, and where a lot of these machines have just been having the most issues. Also, who's going to be using who as a breaker, helping them get through the corner? Can the 25 machine hold off everyone else, with him only taking 2 tires and the rest taking 4? All these answers will be, all these questions will be answered very shortly. But man, it's been a fun race so far, with us getting past the 3/4 mark.
Absolutely, and I think it's just about to get better. Cautions breed cautions, and these restarts have been absolutely crazy. We're going to have a driver here on 2 tires with 4 tires behind him. Things I think are going to stack up quite a bit, and you look at some of these guys up here, I think that the 25, the 3, the 83, they haven't used their fast repair yet, but that doesn't mean they're not going to need it here when we get to the end of this race.
The fast repairs will be utilized. That is for sure. The 41 machine, we know he's used his up now. Everyone else, we'll have to wait and see if or when they have to utilize their fast repairs. And I'm excited to see my hand get through the field, and if he can get through the field cleanly. As we know, with the clean car, that 41 machine is one of the fastest ones out here and could challenge everyone up front. So it's going to be a fun one to watch. As the lights are out on the pace car, we're seeing our only one lap machine on the inside. That's going to be the 8 of Robert Hedges, who will practically just draw back and let our lead cars go.
What's been incredible about this race, too, is that there has not been a dominating car. You had my hand out in front for a good portion of this race. Blaine Atkin took a turn. You had Houndshell leading moments ago, and then Chris Morse Jr. has been leading since then. I mean, there's not really been a clear-cut driver that has dominated this race so far as we go back green. 44 remaining at Rockingham.
And Atkins going to get right on the inside of Morris, trying to make a power move as he gets under the 3 machine. Is going to make the pass for second place. Atkins is tired of running back here in third, wants to take the lead, and now he's got the car with 2 tires in front of him.
Don't forget, this is not a super speedway. That yellow line is just down there to give drivers an idea of where the apron starts and the banking begins. It is not an out-of-bounds line. You can go below there to make a pass if you so choose.
And right now, I'm nervous for the cars that are from second to third. These guys are going to be hard charging, that's for sure. And Houndshell right there as well, trying to get under Morris, but the pass for the lead underway.
Ekin going to make the move on Brummett, who's not going to be able to hold off those four fresh tires. Here comes Christopher Morse Jr. now, looking for second place as he really closed up the gap between himself and Ekin going to that corner. And boy, I'll tell you what, Jake Hounshell scares me every time we see him behind a car going into turn one because he's able to drive it in so much deeper and he nearly runs into the back of the car that's in front of him.
Yeah, there's a lot of different braking zones for these guys. Some cars like to brake early and some like to just throw it into these corners. And that's what Houndshell's been doing. But here comes the 68 following Tyler Riggs. And we haven't seen him up here all day, up to the top 5 position.
Our pole sitter just been lying in wait, trying to keep his nose clean here. He's up to the 5th position, our Daytona winner from last week, trying to ride that momentum. Currently inside of the top 5, and to my knowledge has not been involved in a wreck today. So far he's been able to keep that car in pretty pristine condition. Now trying to hunt down Tyler Riggs for 4th.
Yeah, no, he's just been chilling out, basically about a couple of seconds behind everyone else, and not really in any type of danger. The most danger he's been in is right now being behind Tyler Riggs and really being up in this front pack. Dallas Myhan, we've been saying, hey, he might be someone to watch out for. He had a very poor restart that made him be almost a second back from the car in front of him. Now he's now had to work all the way back, still hasn't gotten by the 25 machine. And right now he's about 2.3 seconds away from our leader and only about 0.3 away from the 25 car in front of him.
You can't possibly be lying in wait riding right now because you really can't. You don't know if this thing might be going green to the end. You've got to get yourself up there if you've got a car capable. Try and fight your way to the front of the field as soon as possible. But if this is the case of just how much strength that 41 car has now, Dallas Myhan, who was up at the front quite a bit in the first half of this race, could be in some trouble here in the closing stages as that battle for 4th continues to heat up. Battle for the lead is actually on. Christopher Morse Jr. got a heck of a run down the back straightaway, all over the back bumper of Blaine Atkin in 3 and 4.
Yeah, he's been creeping closer and closer every single lap for Morris onto Atkins, and Morris is just waiting to make this pass. It looks like Atkins is great for the first about 3 to 5 laps on these runs, and then it starts to fade off a little bit, where Morris feels good from that 5 to about 15 lap marker, where he's a little bit faster, and then after that, it's kind of up in the air of who really saved their tires for the later run. But right now, Morris, he's trying to get the better entry, but that time into turn number 3 wasn't a great entry compared to the 05.
I'm going to need you to refresh my memory. Back when Atkin had his spin in turn 3, I think you said he didn't take a fast repair. So if that's the case, I mean, could that little bit of rear end damage that he had gotten with that spin into the 3rd corner, is that why we're seeing Christopher Morse Jr. be able to reel him in?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like that little bit of damage that he had in the rear end has been affecting him just slightly here. He's been kind of off ever since that caution came out where he got spun out. So it would make sense why he hasn't been as dominant. But as I say that, he starts to pull away from the 3 machine. What once was about a 10th difference, now almost a half a second difference.
Almost wonder if maybe Blaine Atkin was drawing Christopher Morse Jr. in, saving his stuff a little bit, allowing the 3 to use up his stuff to reel him in, and now that the 3 car doesn't have quite the grip underneath of him, now Atkins says, okay, see ya, I'm going to try and open up the gap. Right now enjoys about a 0.3 of a second lead going through 1 and 2.
Yeah, no, Brommett's not really, he's not dominant at the moment. He only took 2 tires. We were expecting him to drop back, but he's only about 2.5 seconds back from our leader. I'm very impressed in the fact that he's been staying at least in this front pack for as long as he's been out there on track with these, only 2 fresher tires.
And of course, as we said too, when that caution came out, he was in the 5th position, about to be in a battle for 5th place with Ashton Slice. So he's dropped back to 6th. He's currently running about a half second ahead of Dallas Myhan. So he's only really lost 1 position since the caution came out. With the fact that, he didn't really have a car that was going to really be capable of winning this race, go out there, get yourself a lap lead, get a bonus point. Why not?
Yeah, might as well do something a little bit different, get that bonus point, and do so. We always talk about how the car's been running a little bit differently from the start of the race. We've been seeing so many different leaders and so many different cars dominating. Another factor we haven't thrown in there is the track temperature. Right now, the outside temp, 77 degrees. Track temp, 107. When we started this race, it was about 117 degrees on track. A very hot track that these guys have been on, still extremely hot, but it has cooled off a little bit, so the slipping and sliding has calmed down just a little bit.
That might be also why we saw drivers really going through the middle lane through 1 and 2 earlier on this race. Now you can see both Atkin, Morse, and those other guys behind them painting that yellow line through 1 and 2.
Morris almost able to get onto the rear quarter panel of Atkins, and now he's going to be trying it into turn number 1. I think he's made it there as the 3 is right under the L5.
Of course, we saw that that's the lane down there where Morse is running that both Atkins and Morse wanted to run the last couple of laps. Ooh, Atkins stuck on the outside line, almost brushed the wall off of turn 2. Somehow, though, clears Morse and holds the lead.
Yeah, able to get that runoff from the outside, and also Jake Hounshell behind him in third. He almost got into the wall, and Tyler Riggs under fire by the 68 now.
Battle for fourth as the battle for the lead continues. Ashton Schleiss. Ooh, Riggs got a little loose going into that corner, slid almost up towards the wall. Schleiss going to get side by side with him down the back straightaway.
Schleiss trying everything he can to get by the 26, but once again, we saw the outside lane really get that exit off of turn number 2, and maybe that's something to hold on to in the back of your mind of, okay, the outside line works off of 2. Maybe I want to try the outside line to make a pass here into 1 and 2, and then possibly try to dig it deep on the low side of 3 and 4.
Saw how deep there. Christopher Morse Jr. drove it into turn 1, up to the back bumper of Blaine Atkin. This time through 3 and 4, cars just about equal as it's still half a car length separation between those two, and the laps are ticking down. We're closing in on 25 laps to go.
25 laps to go, and these drivers have been out there on track for 21 laps on these tires, so we're in that range of where they start to just lose that grip, not able to really hold the inside line that well unless you let off so much more than what you were doing before. So these drivers in a very tricky situation, and we're getting closer and closer. If we go for another 90 laps, we're getting close to that area where we've been seeing cars spin out and having those cautions almost every 20 to 30 laps.
Schleiss will clear for the 4th position, move Riggs back to 5th. And I've been watching the lap times here, and Jake Hounshell, 3rd place, is running somewhat similar lap times to both Atkin and Morse. So if the two of them get side by side again and remain side by side, I don't think you can quite count Hounshell out of this race win either.
And Schleiss right there, that last lap was running pretty close to our leaders as well, but Tyler Riggs decided to come back and do a crossover move. And he gets into Schleiss!
They're going to slide through the corner, and they saved it.
Woo! That's just that part where you start to lose grip as my hand, and the 25 almost makes some contact there off of 2.
It was into the wall off of turn 2, almost bounced off the passenger side door of Dallas Myhand. A couple near moments there from turn 1 all the way to the middle of the back straightaway. Somehow we're still clean and green, but the biggest loser out of that one, the 4-wheel slide through the center of 1 and 2 for Tyler Riggs, drops him all the way back to the 7th position, and no caution to help him catch up, as we just had an exchange for the lead with all that going on as well. Christopher Morse Jr. got around Blaine Atkin, put the 3 back out in front.
Morris is so happy to see that there wasn't a caution there, because if caution came out, he would have been behind Atkins. But with the caution not coming out with an extra lap and a half, that 3 machine getting by the 05, and I'm really shocked by Hounshell. He has been getting looser and looser off of 2. Almost every single time I look back at that 83 car off of 2, he is almost completely sideways. That car is ducking to the inside wall, and he's got to save it. And it's just going to get worse and worse the longer this run goes on.
Place is under contest is Dallas Myhand on fresher tires than Dean Brummett, who only took right sides under our last caution. It's reeling him in, trying to take that spot away. That's for a position inside of the top 5. And that's really the closest battle on track right now is, whoa, Brummett gets awfully loose there off of turn 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. These drivers have been in off of 2 very loose and just shoots their car. If they don't hit the outside wall, they're shooting their car into the inside wall. So they got to be careful. Really, this track looking very narrow the longer the run goes on, as the looser these cars get. As Atkins looks like he has ran out of those tires and that grip, because he is fading back away from the 3 car, but still holding off the 83.
Christopher Morse Jr. has turned his sails into the wind, and he is pulling away almost a second now between himself and the 05 of Blaine Atkin. Battle right now, the closest one is looking like it might be for 3rd place. That 68 of Ashton Schleiss may have been saving his stuff, because he's about to fight for a spot inside the podium here.
That's something we've always been talking about all race long. Has he been saving for something? Is there something that this 68's been waiting for? Because we know he has the qualifying pace. Did he have the race pace? Is now he's getting under the 83, trying to make the pass here for third place. Ashton Slice got the win last week. He's going for a podium this week.
Trying to ride the momentum of his victory at Daytona. We should update that 7 cars are still running all in the lead lap as Robert Hedges, feeling that 8th is the best he's going to finish tonight, has taken his car behind the wall, joining Whitendorf, Eldridge, Leach, Perkins, and Crafton. We've got 19, almost 18 laps to go to finish this one out. The gap now is 2 seconds from Morse back to Atkin.
And now I'm looking at Schleiss. Does he have enough? He's got a faster car than Atkins right now. This 68 is cruising. He's not running as fast as our leader, but he is running faster than second place at the moment. His caution is out. Contact made. Brummett is going to be the one, and it comes at the perfect time for these drivers to have a last dash for the last less than 20 laps in this race.
There were 30 laps on their set of tires. Had to go another 17 circuits here, and now, your point, it's going to be a dash to the finish. This breathes new life into Dallas Myhand, into Tyler Riggs, and this to me seems the point in time that if you're anybody out there that has not used your fast repair yet, despite how minimal your damage may be, go in, get that fast repair, have it there for this shootout.
Yeah, I mean, even if there's another caution out right now, it's going to be only about, if we have a caution immediately when we go green, it'll only bring us about 6 laps left in this race. So you need to use your fast repair if you have damage on your car right now to really utilize it so you have the best opportunity to win this race. We've only got 7 cars out there, all of them on the lead lap. You've all got a chance to win this thing. But I think Atkins is the one that I've got circled to win this thing just because of how many laps are left in this race. Morris has still got a screaming fast car, and I believe that he's someone that we've also got to circle in as a winner here. It's going to be difficult for my hand to get through this traffic here as everyone else still very quick.
Would have loved to have seen as well if we had gone green the rest of the way. If Ashton Schleiss had been able to get around Blaine Atkin for a second, would he have been able to have a fast enough car to reel in the 3 of Christopher Morse Jr.? We're not going to get to find that out now, as all 7 cars are going to be right next to each other here for this restart. Morse Jr. wins the battle off pit road. Schleiss is going to come out in second place, followed by Hounshell, Riggs, and then Myhand is going to come out. Actually, it looks like maybe Myhand might have gotten 4th off of Riggs. Riggs back to 5th. Then Dean Brummett, and a slow stop for the 0-5 of Blaine Atkin, going to be all the way back in 7th.
He overshot his pit stall, had to back up, losing about 5 seconds compared to everyone else. Atkin, who was running up in the top 3, had a fantastic shot to win this thing. Now all the way back in 7th, is looking for just the top 5, if not maybe a podium. But Dallas Myhand up in 4th. That is a shocker to see. And really, I'm concerned for everyone else because he's been keeping that car clean. It saved that fast repair for the last 50 laps, and now he's ready to throw down some of the fastest laps of the day.
You see the spin by Dean Brummett, and I want to bring up here too, we mentioned it top of the program, no green-white checkers. There is every possibility this race is going to end under the yellow flag. So, we've run maybe about 2 or 3 pace laps here under each one of our cautions. Instead of racing to lap 200, some of these guys might be racing to lap 197.
Yeah, 196 to 197 is your marker. You want to be up front around there and hold the lead, because if a caution comes out, your race is done and the field will be frozen. Tyler Riggs, I was looking at some of the fastest lap times put down all race long. That 26 car has it put down with a 24.7. Fastest lap on track. But here's the thing, he did that when he didn't have damage on that car. He has some heavy damage on the right side, I should say, of that 26 machine. So he's someone that is still quick, but I don't think he has the speed to win this thing.
Saw Dean Brummett was the one that brought the caution out, but because he really didn't hit anything, that car may still be up to speed. He was out there on right sides only from the last pit stop. He was able to come down, get 4 fresh tires, and you mentioned back on that last run with his right side tire strategy how he wasn't losing a whole lot of time to the race leaders that were on 4 fresh Goodyears. Almost wonder if maybe he might have something here in the closing stages as well, as he's still on the lead lap with the aid of that yellow flag.
Well, we're getting ready to go. Lights are out. We're going this time by to figure out who's going to be winning here at the Rockingham Speedway. It's going to be Christopher Morris Jr. leading them to the green flag.
13 laps to go here at Rockingham
No!
as Ashton Schleiss.
Slice got a huge bump from Houndshell, which gave him the shot of a lifetime. That he had to throw down the inside, keep that momentum, and now under the 3 machine.
What he had to do, you saw him have to kind of lift a little bit to make sure he didn't pass the 3 car before the start-finish line. But then after the start-finish line, it was fair game. He's still to the bottom here on the 3. And if these guys stay side by side, that's bringing Houndshell and Dallas Myhand and Blaine Atkin, who moved from 7th up to 5th in one corner. They're now back up in the hunt as well.
The accordion effect made it so everyone in the middle of the pack had to literally left off, and Atkins took advantage of that. Now put himself under the 41 machine, put himself possibly into 4th place. Side-by-side action for the lead, where you got the 3 and then 68, and Houndshell just waiting and prowling for his chance to pounce on these guys.
Ashton Schleiss, the only time we talked about in the first half of this race was we were wondering if he was off the pace or something after starting on the pole. He's a player in this here now in the second half of the race as he got a little loose into turn 1, loses touch with the 3 of Christopher Morse Jr., and now has Houndshell on his back bumper for second.
Yeah, he just hit the bump wrong through 1 and 2. That really made him lose all his momentum. Now he's going to be pressured by Houndshell, and Houndshell throwing his car to the inside on side-by-side action going into turn number 1. Got to make this pass. Cletus, Houndshell slides. Contact made, and 68 goes around. Caution's out.
Caution's going to come out as Houndshell, with the contact to the left rear, spins Schleiss around. I don't think Schleiss made a lot of contact, if any, with the right rear of the wall. And more importantly, with only 7 cars in the field, everybody was able to get by. Nobody hit the 68, who held the brakes and only drifted down to that middle lane. But caution comes out again, and we had a 13-lap shootout before, Sam. Now we're closing in on possibly a 5, maybe less than 5 to go shootout. 7 laps they just ran. Do you come to pit road now?
I mean, Christopher Morris Jr. just ran his fastest lap of the race before that caution came out. That 3 machine is cruising. Everyone else kind of was running a couple of tenths off. I would imagine a lot of these guys coming into the pits, you got to do the opposite of what the leader does. So if the leader comes in, everyone should be coming into the pits.
We
or
see
staying
some
out, I should say.
pitting perhaps here. Will the 3 maybe look like he's going to pit then duck out?
Ooh, my hand
Myhand.
come. Nope, my hand stays out. Brahmet, and then as well as the 68 going to be coming to the pits. Only 2 takers.
So we'll see if there's a huge difference between 7-lap-old tires and fresh tires here. It's also going to depend on how many laps are left in this race. It's Christopher Morse Jr. trying to pick up his first win of the season. Houndshell, Blaine Atkin, Dallas Myhand, and Tyler Riggs are the ones that decide not to come to pit road. We're going to go back real quick and take a look at the, I don't know if we can necessarily call it a spin. It was kind of a 45-degree slide for the 68 of Ashton Schleiss.
That was some nice contact. I mean, it looked like there was a little bit of net code involved in it, but these guys have been racing hard and close to one another all race long, and that's what spun this 68 car around with the contact that was made.
See right there, 83. Houndshell got loose. To your point, there definitely was netcode. There was no clear contact between those 2 cars, but just enough for the netcode to kick in. And I don't think that Schleiss really made a whole lot of contact with that outside wall. So my assumption is he's coming to pit road probably just to change those tires, which obviously be very worn down with that slide through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, if there was about 13 laps and the 5 cars that stayed out and he just pitted, I would feel comfortable. You have a chance to really pass these guys. You got time to do the passes that need to be made. And at the moment, there just won't be enough time to get by all 5 cars and get yourself into the lead. You might be able to put yourself into a podium position, but this just isn't looking great for the cars that came into the pits. They might get some positions, but this isn't a winning move on their part. but it should be a net positive for at least both of them.
Now, when we go back green, these drivers will have run about maybe 6 laps, green flag conditions on these tires. The other thing that we have to think about is the restart, the possibility of spinning your tires here. I mean, we've seen quite a number of checkups on these restarts, a lot of them due to drivers anticipating when the leader's going to go. But I mean, if someone spins the tires here, we've seen before when we've broadcasted races that end under caution due to a quick yellow coming out on a restart.
Yeah, if there is another caution, this race will come to an end. Pace car lights are off. It's going to be a 5-lap shootout. Figure out who's going to be winning here at the Rock. And, you know, I've got a feeling this 3 machine is the one to beat. But Atkins has some speed that I am really shocked he still has. But, I mean, I talked about it earlier. It just seems like Atkins has that first about 10 laps on these tires. He's got the best speed, and then Morris just seems to take off from there. Houndshell seems to get looser and looser every single lap that goes by. We'll see if this 83 car has anything left for the 3 or if he ran out. I'm curious to see, can he get by any of the cars in front of him?
Going back to Blaine Atkin, he restarted on the last restart 7th, worked his way up to 3rd in 6 laps of racing. So he's only got 2 more spots to try and pick up here with what will be 5 laps to go. Next flag ends the race, whether it be the caution or the white. Green flags in the air. They stack up again behind race leader Christopher Morris Jr. Here comes Atkin to the inside for 2nd.
Got on the inside of Houndshell, and Houndshell just drops back, and here goes Atkins, spinning around Morris, and they make contact. That's going to end the race. Who's in the lead? It's going to be Houndshell.
Racing back to the checkered flag here, as right now only 2 cars got through it. Houndshell in my hand. It looks like they're slow, and they're not really racing back to the line, so I don't know if this is a frozen field caution or not. I would have assumed it's a race back caution.
I believe it is a frozen field caution for these drivers.
Houndshell was 2nd on the restart, with I think he was 4th by the time they got through 1 and 2. Able to get through the mayhem to the race lead, and this race should be ending under yellow with Houndshell taking this race win.
Atkins trying to plead his case that he felt like that was some netcode that happened, but you know, he just came in so hot. It's hard to say. I'm looking back at it, and it was netcode that spun the 3 machine out. That was not actual contact made by Atkins. Went back, looked at a different angle. The 05 came in hot. And, you know, coding says that's not going to work. And that's what spun around the 3 machine of Morris. And that is insane how these drivers went around.
What they have to do is they have to go back and see where everyone was running at the exact moment that the caution lights came on. According to what Blaine Atkins, I guess, is pleading, is that he was actually out in front when the caution came out. After that shot from behind by Houndshell. So he right now is up in the front of the field. I mean, obviously the admins are going to have to go back and look at the timing of all this, but I don't necessarily know when the caution lights came on. But even, you know, with the caution lights coming on, it looked like at some point Houndshell was ahead of Atkin.
Yeah, I mean, getting through traffic, if they're racing the line, Houndshell had it. But yeah, if they're calling it from the time of the caution, Blaine Atkins is the one that will get that position. So that is an insane wreck that came out, and you know that it was going to be kind of like that. It was going to be a 5-lap shootout. Figure out who's going to get this win, and right now it looks like Blaine Atkins going to be the one that gets it done, with him being in the lead right now, and no changes by race control.
What we're going to do here real quick, because race leader hasn't come around to get the white flag, we're going to follow the pace car here and see the exact moment that the lights come on. Then we'll take a freeze frame of where the field was at the time, where the drivers were at the time. So lights are on at this current point right here on this frame. The lights are going to come back on. Now let's jump up to the front and let's see if we can, just based off of this freeze frame, tell who is out in front at the time. We don't Right there, there's a clear angle right there. The moment the lights come on, it's got the 83 ahead by a nose, according to what we've got right here.
Well, sometimes what the code calls and what we see sometimes just doesn't match. As white flag and caution flag are now waving at the moment. So Blaine Atkins still up front as our leader at the moment, and since he's still up front, there has not a black flag given to the 05. So it looks like Blaine Atkins gonna get the win. Jake Hounshell gonna be getting second, and Dallas Myhan somehow gonna be getting a third there, surviving the chaos.
Even after the spin there out of turn 2, Christopher Morse Jr. is still going to finish in the top 5 in 4th place. Ashton Schleiss, Dean Brummett, and Tyler Riggs there, the remainder of the field. But I don't know, does iRacing do scoring loops? Because maybe that's why the 05 was still scored the race leader at the time. But just based off of what I saw there with that freeze frame, a little bit perplexing up here in the booth.
That is really confusing to see. And, coming across the line, we'll have to talk about it after the line comes across. But yeah, admins are going to have a fun time trying to deem who gets the hard charge award, because no one went hard charging from where they qualified. They all went backwards.
And Akin will cross the line with the win. His first win of the season, coming off a 3rd place run at Daytona where he led the most laps there. I don't know if he led the most laps here tonight, because we had a lot of drivers up there at the front for a good period of time. Morse Jr. was up there. Dallas Myhan, Hounshell was up there, as well as the 05. So to wait and see who actually did lead the most laps here tonight. But Blaine Akin, he might be. Well, I was wondering if maybe he was sitting there waiting to find out if he was the official winner here or not. But now he's gonna turn around, and shades of Alan Kulwicki gonna do a Polish victory lap heading back to the start-finish line. Looks like he's going to take a circuit all the way around here at North Carolina Speedway. So as of right now, just based off of what we have for the finishing results, this is the way it looks. As we should have a moment of silence for the pace car driver, because Blaine Akin just drove right through it. Hounshell brings it home second, Myhan third, Morse Jr. fourth, Schleiss there in fifth, coming off his Daytona victory. Then Brummett and Riggs were the last drivers to finish this race. Everyone else finished behind the wall in the garage area after we worked a total of, I believe it was, 10 cautions here this evening, the race ending under the yellow flag.
You got to give it to Blaine Atkins. He showed pace at the start of the race and finished it off at the end. An 05, really a fantastic job on his part. I know it probably wasn't the way he wanted to finish that race, but still got the W at the end of the day.
And he was to the inside of Christopher Morse Jr. there, going through 1 and 2. And you talked about his short run speed on the restarts. He showed it right there. So, there's no saying that had there not been that spin by the 3, that Blaine Atkins still wouldn't have won this race. More than likely, he and Morse Jr. would have been side by side coming off of turn 2. And probably Blaine Atkins would have been able to make the move to take this victory. But we'll never know. What we do know is that Blaine Atkins is scored your winner here tonight at Rockingham, and we're going to try and get some words with some of our top 3 finishers. Let's kick things off with the 3rd place finisher, Dallas Myhan. Dallas, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Crazy race here tonight. We saw you up front for a good portion of this race. Several other drivers taking turns at the front. What were the conditions from the cockpit out there here at Rockingham?
Well, for me, the first, up to the race, the car felt really good, but until I'd say around 70 to go, for me personally, the car got really, really tight. I don't know because the check time went down or not, or it was a handful, to say the least, at the end of the race.
We saw you use your fast repair there in the closing stages of the race. How difficult was it trying to fight the race car with the damage you had up to that point?
Yeah, I tried to keep it off the wall as much as possible. Last thing I wanted to do was bring out a caution and everybody's a good run going, a green flag run. But I unfortunately hit the wall off of turn 2 and just couldn't save it off the track.
Yeah, Dallas, those restarts, those last about 2 or 3 restarts just were crazy with how many moves people were trying to make. How was it from your point of view with that last restart and all the other ones?
Well, that last restart, I was a little confused, to be honest, because the 05 got passed after we wrecked. So I was a little confused how he got his spot back, but the iRacing rules, I guess, marked him as a leader at the point of caution. So, I mean, restarts in general all night long were just crazy to say the least.
One thing that we also saw at Dallas was drivers having a little bit of difficulty coming out of the corners, going up and into the wall. Was that just the way that the car was handling, or was it how drivers try to approach a track like Rockingham, where they try and countersteer just a little bit off the corner to get that straightaway speed and maybe overstepping the cushion a little too much?
I think it was a little bit of both. Like this car, I mean, I think the cooler the track got, the tighter the car got also. So you had to put more steering input into the car, and it ended up getting you guys closer to the wall than they should. That's what happened to me. I got too close to the wall, and for me personally, I hit the wall because the car got too tight because of that kind of thing.
Well, Dallas, obviously, though, we saw you in that attempt to pass in the grass at Daytona. You finished second there. You finished third here tonight at Rockingham. So certainly some great numbers for you here to start off the season in the G4 Sim Racing Series. We're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my guys up at EO Simsport, Sim Performance Group, Raise Energy, and you guys for putting on the broadcast once again. It was fun to be here.
It's Dallas Myhand, led some laps here tonight and finishes P3 at North Carolina Speedway. Congrats on a great run. Wishing you luck next week at Richmond.
Yep, see you guys next week.
And let's get our runner-up finisher here, Jake Hounshell. Jake, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Well, let's get your viewpoint there of that last restart, because you got a front row seat of everything that went on ahead of you.
I saw those two guys side by side, and the hole just closed up, so I knew nothing good was going to happen. I tried as hard as I could not to run into the 05, but I ran out of brakes.
We saw, obviously, on 10 lap to 15 lap to 20 lap stints, everybody coming to pit road. How difficult was it having all of these cautions here, kind of breaking it up in 20-25 lap intervals when you may have been strategizing for a long green flag run?
Well, that's the whole problem. Is we're always trying to save these tires to get a little quicker at the end, but the cautions keep screwing it up. So it was challenging. I think I did an okay job of saving the tires, but the 3 and the 05 are just doing that much better. I had to come from the back a couple of times, so I didn't get to save as much as I wanted to. But no, it was good. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, you like you said, you started in the back. How was it driving through traffic at the start of this race? Because once you got up front, it seemed like you were up front for most of the race.
It was dangerous for sure. Yeah, once I got up front, I was pretty equal to everybody else. But coming through the pack was fun, but it's definitely dangerous. I was trying to save that fast period to the end, and I was lucky to get that late caution, but it ended up not mattering anyway. So.
Well, Jake, obviously, you had a good run last week of 6th place at Daytona. You bring it home 2nd place here tonight. You've got some good momentum going. You're obviously going to be up there in the conversation when we get to Richmond next week for the points lead. And we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
I'll give a big thanks to you guys for putting this on. It's a lot of fun. G-Force Racing. All my friends watching, if they're watching. 2nd place finish. Can't complain with that.
Jake Hounshell finishes runner-up here tonight at Rockingham. Look forward to talking to you next week at Richmond. Good luck.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
And down in victory lane, let's get Blaine Atkin. Blaine, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, sir, I do.
You had a rocket ship here tonight, had to work your way from outside the top 5 back up to the race lead on several occasions, but you're sitting there 2nd, or actually I think you were 3rd on that last restart. What strategy did you have knowing that it was going to be less than 5 laps to go?
I was trying to get underneath 2nd there, and I just hate it for Chris because I was trying to follow him off the corner and get him going into 3, but I guess that's just not how it worked, and netcode got us bad.
Oh, we obviously saw you were really strong on the short run. How did that speed transfer over onto the long run, especially as the tires started wearing down?
It was really tough for me because I wasn't more of a long run guy. I was hoping for the little short stints there, and I got them all the right times there because the tires were starting to go away from me a couple of times, and guys behind me caught me.
Yeah, Blaine, I mean, speaking of those short runs, those restarts were incredible on your end. How were you getting those jumps on everyone else?
To be honest, I don't even know. I was just running it in as hard as I could there, and it worked for me.
Well, no doubt you have the record here tonight for the longest spin. We saw you get out of shape out of turn 2. The thing didn't go around till turn 3. I mean, how difficult is it as a driver to be able to hang on to a race car like that?
It was really tough for me. I was trying to keep it off the wall there, and going into 3, I think I got a little bumper there, and I just couldn't hang on to it and spun it out.
Well, Blaine, obviously you finished third last week at Daytona. You bring it home with a victory here tonight at Rockingham. This has got to give you some good momentum heading into the short track of Richmond next week, and we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Oh yeah, I want to thank Aiken Motorsports, my dad, for making this all possible, and every one of my crew guys in real life that helped me out with my street stock. And I mean, they do amazing jobs out there.
It's Blaine Atkins, second race of the season, and he's got a 1 in the win column, taking the checker flag here tonight in the North Carolina 200. Congrats on a great victory. Go enjoy it, and we look forward to talking to you next week at Richmond.
Yep.
And with that, our coverage tonight at Rockingham is complete here for the G-Force Sim Racing 87 Vintage Series. And Sam, I mean, we said it, the big 5-letter word coming to this race, tires. That was the key point here tonight, all night long, no matter whether we had long green flag run or some short stints.
Yeah, I mean, we were seeing it after about lap 20 to lap 30. These tires just gave up on some of these drivers, made it extremely loose off of 2, and we saw so many self-spins that were brought out a lot of these cautions and a lot of self-spins that didn't bring out cautions. So it was a rough day for these drivers, a hard track, but overall, a great finish to watch out and see Blaine Akin get the win.
Definitely, and a lot of drivers, as we mentioned, up there towards the front. Not really any dominating driver here today, completely clobbering the field. A lot of drivers took some turns up at the front, and we kind of had to maybe put some names in a hat and draw one out as to who would probably go to victory lane here with that late race restart. But wild finish to finish this off here tonight. Unfortunately, the race ends under caution, but Blaine Akin is your winner here this evening. Sam, as always, appreciate you joining me in the booth.
It's always a pleasure, Seth.
Next week, we'll be bringing you the Richmond 200 from Richmond International Raceway. Daytime conditions, so expect it to probably be hot and slick for some short track racing. That, of course, will be taking place at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Tuesday evening. But for Sam Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in to another broadcast here this evening, courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.